Welcome to Kennesaw State University and our virtual open house. I hope by joining us for this program, your decision about where to go to college gets that much easier. Students come to KSU to learn to engineer for the future, teach with impact, program innovations, lead in business, become caring nurses, and prepare for many other careers. Our exceptional and engaged faculty help make these goals a reality by guiding and investing in our students. Truly, KSU has it all, from our invigorating courses to prepare you for a meaningful career, to a playoff caliber Division I football team that you can cheer alongside Owl Nation. KSU has a wide variety of organizations and research opportunities for you to get involved with. We have 2 beautiful campuses that are easy to call home. Even during a time of social distancing, we have launched more than 1,000 extracurricular activities for students, and you'll find deck chairs, swings, and solar tables for studying all over our campuses. And if you're interested in a world-class honors program, the KSU Honors College is among the best in the state. This is why students who apply to KSU overwhelmingly choose to enroll here. How do we know this? U.S. News & World Report has ranked KSU as the top 15 in the country in yielding student enrollment. At KSU, we place students first in everything we do, from making sure proper health and safety measures are in place during these unusual times, to ensuring students have access to the courses they need to earn their desired degrees. We're doing everything we can to provide an education and experience that sets the standard for what it means to attend a top-tier university. If you choose KSU, you will leave here with a hard-earned degree, fond memories, and a community like no other. Come to KSU to find your wings. Go Owls!
Welcome to the second day of KSU's Virtual Open House. My name is Jordan Stevenson. I'm the Director of Student Recruitment. And before we get started with our awesome folks from the Bagwell College of Education, I want to talk a minute about how you should do Virtual Open House. Yesterday, huge success, was a fantastic day. You heard from admissions, you heard from the College of the Arts, and it was just, the experience was top-notch. College of Science and Mathematics closed us out. Tons of interaction, tons of comments. We hope for the same thing today. So how should you do Virtual Open House? Well, if you're at home and you have access to cast this thing, what we're doing now, streaming live to Facebook and YouTube, if you can cast it to your TV, do that. It's going to make this environment even bigger for you, make it feel more live. That's what we want. That's why we did it this way. That's why we decided to stream to Facebook and YouTube instead of just doing another Zoom session. We realize everybody is zoomed out. So this is a little bit different. If you can, stream it, cast it to your TV. That'd be really cool. If not, watch it on a computer. If that's the next best thing, great. And if not, obviously, watch it on your phone, chat with us on your phone, and just interact with us. As we're going throughout the session today, if you want to ask questions of the Bagwell College of Education, please post those in the platform that you're using. So if it's YouTube or it's Facebook, doesn't matter which one, we're going to ask questions from each platform. So make sure you're posting them there. And then we've got people live here in the room that are going to ask those questions of the presenters. Another thing that you should absolutely do, we have a raffle giveaway. Let me show you. I did this yesterday. It's a really heavy bag. So I've been lifting weights to prepare for this. This is the bag. Super cool, canvas bag, right? But inside are so many goodies. Even our presenters here today do not know what is inside this bag. There's things for your car or your wall or wherever you want to put them. There's nice soft things, there's hard things, there's all sorts of cool things in here. The only way to know what's in this bag is to win it. So every session that you join and you watch and you participate in, you have the chance to enter the raffle giveaway. That link is posted. It's a bit.ly link, so that's a short link basically. It's posted in the chat of both Facebook and YouTube. Go to the bit.ly link, fill it out every session that you watch. The more sessions you watch, the more you participate, the greater chances you have of winning, right? That's statistics. Yes, I'm in a statistics class right now. So do it, okay? Every single session, you're going to get reminders from people like me as we go throughout the week. Okay, so that's a little bit about all of those things, and we have the Bagwell College of Ed with us here today. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and then we're going to get into their content.
Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Stacy Dela Cruz. I'm an Associate Professor of Elementary and Early Childhood Education, and I'm Interim Director of our Education Student Services, the Advising Unit in the Bagwell College of Education. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adrian Epps. I'm the Dean of the College of Education, and so excited that you decided to join us today. I know that you're already sold on being an educator, but we're going to really try to convince you why Bagwell is your choice to come to.
Sounds good. And to get us started, we've got a video. So we're going to play this video for you and get you prompted about some questions for the Bagwell College of Ed.
My name is Mary Cassie, and I am studying concentrations in language arts and reading at Kennesaw's middle grades education program. I had an amazing advisor, Nancy Gillis, and she really mapped out everything I needed to take in order to graduate on time. For middle grades, it's a smaller program, which is amazing because we don't have as many peers in your class, so it's really like a community. I was a sophomore when I first entered into the program, and that was when I had my first field placement. So I followed my teacher around, saw what she did, her daily tasks, as well as assisted with any kind of student requirements or student support, and I really just got a good feel for what it would look like as a teacher. My junior year, I really got more of a grasp of what it looked like to become a teacher, of all the varying assignments and requirements and things, as well as how much students need you. For a senior year, you are placed in a middle school for the whole year. 3 days a week, you would go to your placement, and the other 2 days you would have for your in-person classes at Kennesaw. And so it would change. The following semester, we'd be at our placement for 5 full weeks, full days, which is a great experience, as well as we'd be taking online classes. One of the things that I love about the Bagwell College of Education is all their professors really do show a true concern and a true desire for you to excel, as well as their passion in growing you as an educator. I actually got a job, my top choice school too, which was very exciting. I was able to schedule 5 different interviews with 5 different schools and felt very comfortable. Just sharing about my teaching philosophy, how I would support my students. I would say that Bagwell has definitely left a lasting impact on me as an educator, whether it be content or methods or instructional support classes. They have really share the message of how you as a teacher, how you as an educator are going to really need to support each one of your students' needs.
All right, welcome back everybody. I don't know if you can see, but we've had a little bit of a set change. We have the awesome Kelly Johnson Oxford on set. So I'm going to let her introduce herself, and we're going to get back into talking about Bagwell College of Ed.
Great. Hi, everyone. I am the undergraduate and graduate admissions assistant director for undergraduate and graduate admissions, as well as the certification officer in the Bagwell College of Education, and I am seated in the Dean's Suite with our wonderful dean, and I'm in the Office of OAA, Assessment and Accreditation.
Everybody has a lot of job titles and a lot of job responsibilities when it comes to education. That's
yeah, absolutely.
If anything, one and a half of my degrees is from a College of Ed. So if anything, I'm learning that right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the name of the game in education. You have to do it all.
Well,
awesome.
we don't just have university accreditation. We have to have the accreditations for our College of Ed. So
right.
Yeah, we go beyond.
Right. Well, let's get talking about some of your degree programs.
Okay, so we wanted to discuss our undergraduate degree programs in the Bagwell College of Education. If you are interested in pursuing a birth through kindergarten degree, you could take our Birth to Age 5 program, which has certification and non-certification tracks. And so the difference between those two would be that the certification track actually, when you do your year-long clinical student teaching, is actually done in a public elementary school. And you would also have to take the GACE exam, which is a content area expertise exam at the end of the program. A non-cert track for birth through kindergarten is built for those who are already practicing teachers in preschools or daycares, and they want to stay in their classroom to complete their year-long clinical experience. We have an option for that as well with our non-cert track. Or perhaps you're interested in our elementary and early childhood program, which is where I teach. It is the pre-K through 5th grade track, and in that program, you are a teacher of almost like everything. So you're reading, writing, math, science, social studies, all the content areas. We also have our middle grades education program, which is designed for students who want to pursue teaching in grades 4 through 8. And you would select 2 concentrations in either language arts, mathematics, science, or social studies. And then we have our secondary education program, which is grades 6 through 12. And you would select 1 concentration in biology, chemistry, mathematics, and physics. And so those are the undergraduate programs housed in the Bagwell College of Education. There's other education programs like art and English education, but they're not housed within our college.
Gotcha. More of a
yeah.
partnership,
Yeah.
if you will.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I think you were going to talk about the graduate programs as well that you have, yes? No.
We actually are not, but we offer
Okay,
a variety of graduate programs, and we encourage you to look online for those. Yeah.
You never know. We have some parents out here, some other
Yeah.
people that maybe more at that level. So
Yeah, we offer master's degree, master's in the art of teaching, special educational specialist degrees, and doctoral programs.
As well as endorsement programs.
Endorsements.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
certification programs.
Yeah, and cert-only
Certificates,
programs.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
we may be talking about this a little bit later on, but I know from spending a lot of time with the Bagwell College of Ed over time and just knowing about education, this is a question that I've got, for prospective students out there, whether they be in high school or they be maybe at a community college or another school right now and they want to transfer to us, what's the best way to think about, do I want to be an elementary ed teacher? Do I want to be a middle grades teacher, other than just job security for middle grades? But how do they figure out which kind of track they want to go on?
Well, I think it's really where they have to decide where they have their passion. If they prefer to teach the younger children, the pre-K through 5th grade, they're going to have to become content knowledgeable in all subject areas. So they have to enjoy teaching the younger children, but they also have to understand all areas. So they're going to be the social studies teacher, the math teacher, the science teacher, the reading and literacy teacher for that age group. And where we find that some people really enjoy the age group, others really enjoy the content, and that's where they tend to go more towards the middle grades. And then those who love, say, Shakespeare, or those who love the health and physical ed, they're going to go in even more specific. So that gets them up into the high school ages, high school age children that they're going to interact with. So it's really where they feel their comfort level. It's where you want to teach. It's the grades, the age of the children, the content. If you have a passion about an area and you follow your passion. With anything in life, you always want to follow your passion. So if you're a content specialist and Shakespeare, health and PE, art, music, then go that way. But if you enjoy the age of the students, that being the elementary age, and we have people who are very passionate about a specific grade within the elementary school. So that's going to be like your first and second graders, or it's going to be your 3rd through 5th graders. You get more into the content specific when you get as they progress through the elementary schools, if I'm correct, yes. Dr. Dela Cruz. But it's really what you have a passion to teach, the age group or the content. So we always encourage, we have an Intro to Education course, which is a prereq for admission to the College of Ed. It's a prereq to many of our courses, of course, as an admission requirement. But what we do in that is we introduce students to the different grade bands and try and get them to interact. If they're really passionate about the elementary schools, but they might be thinking about the middle schools, then we want them to experience maybe the middle school so that they know, yeah, the elementary school is where my passion is. So we want you to be comfortable where you're going to end up in life. We want you to remain passionate. Every day when you get up as a teacher, you should be passionate about what you do. So.
That intro course, I know, for instance, when I was doing my undergrad, that intro course was super meaningful to me. One, I did not do my undergrad in education, but it was really meaningful to me to figure out I didn't want to do business. So, so at what point in a student coming to KSU, at what point should they take that intro to education course?
Well, it's usually in the sophomore year. Of course, they have to have English 1101 and 1102, which are the freshman year courses, unless they CLEP or if they've CLEP'd out of those courses, we might have students who are in their freshman year that are able to take that course. But where we see most students take it, it's the first semester of their sophomore year.
Right. So pretty early on, students
Absolutely.
that are out there that are really questioning, do I want to do education for not only my bachelor's degree, but for my career, as well as what level of education do I want to teach within, potentially, right? It's not all, you're not pigeonholed for the rest of your life. That they'll know that first semester, sophomore year, hopefully they're going to come, they're going to get on track because they're going to work with our advisors, and they're going to be ready to go first semester, sophomore year. Awesome.
Yeah,
I think
usually
we
we see that.
Yeah, we get a lot of those questions in admissions. It's how, because there's so many options with education, and it's how do I know where I belong, right? So any way that we can help steer them in that direction, that's what we want to do.
Well, it's in that sophomore year that they start getting into the prereqs that are associated with the areas. So usually the second semester of the sophomore year, they're in those prereq courses if they're going into the secondary English or they're going into the secondary mathematics. They need to continue to progress in their prereqs to those upper level courses. If they're going to be a high school math teacher teaching, 9th or 10th grade algebra, then they need to know, usually in their sophomore year, that they can't just stop with stats. They have to continue because they're taking 1 to 2 to 4 courses, and Dr. Epps could attest to this. They're taking 1 to 2, 4, 5 courses a semester in mathematics. So as they progress in their sophomore year and they determine where they want to teach, what grade bands they want to teach, what content area, they really, it's because they're doing it that first semester of their sophomore year that it's important that they go ahead and take that intro to education course so that they know as they progress, they're on track to graduate in 4 years.
Yeah. So thinking about progressing towards graduation and student support, student success, let's talk about the supports that students receive through the Bagwell College of Education and the culture here at the school.
One thing that we really take pride in is that our faculty, awesome faculty in the Bagwell College of Education with a variety of research interests, diverse faculty, diverse backgrounds, diverse research interests. And one thing that I love collaborating with all of these professionals and wonderful professors is that we actually try to stay connected in the classroom. So not only are we teaching, but we're also supervising in local schools. We're supervising our student teachers. We're researching in local schools. So we are very connected. We have a variety of partner districts and schools that we partner with. So that's really nice that we stay connected. It's not like we taught 20 years ago and we haven't been in a classroom since. We are continually, just professional development, and we're lifelong learners in the Bagwell College of Education. So definitely you have faculty support, you have our amazing advising unit with advisors in all the different content areas. We also have a teacher resource and activity center, which Kelly will talk more about in a minute. We have a variety of labs that support the students. Of course, campus resources like tutoring available. And then also, I wanted to touch on the student climate and culture. So we have students in education who are student athletes. We have organizations like the hashtag Black Teachers Matter organization. We also have just other sororities. So students are involved in so much in the Bagwell College of Education, and we definitely encourage them to be involved. We support them. We want them to be involved in the OWL culture.
Yep, OWL Nation, that's right.
Yeah.
I have a question as well. I know, sorry, I'm peppering you with all these questions that I didn't tell you ahead of time, but In admissions, we hear a lot from prospective students about where are they going to student teach. And you mentioned some of these partner school districts, and where are some, maybe you don't talk about examples specifically, but counties and school systems, because that's one thing that we talk about a lot, is you come to Kennesaw State because we are a diverse institution. We're in an incredible place. The location of KSU, it could not be better, right? I mean,
no way.
It's wild that the access that we have to every type of, particularly talking about education, every type of school system, of everybody from rural all the way to super urban, and it's unique to be at a school like us, where you're out in suburban metro Atlanta and you have all this access, and you want to be an educator and to ultimately be able to experience different school systems, unlike some, and I'm not here to name names, unlike some schools where you go to college and you're off in a college town or something like that, and it's difficult to get a variety of diverse teaching assistantships, or be able to experience just a diverse set of school systems. So what's that like for our students, and what are some of these, name some of these areas?
And I would say that in our programs, we really are intentional about placing students with diverse students. So you might be in a placement with a high population of English language learners in one placement. You might be in a placement where you're focusing a lot with your math class and doing some math tutoring in another class. You know, with the younger grades one semester, the upper grades in another semester. But we partner with a variety of districts: Cobb, Cherokee, Atlanta Public Schools,
Gwinnett,
Fulton, Cherokee. Did I say Cherokee?
Yeah, you said Cherokee. Cartersville City, Marietta City,
Marietta City,
Paulding. We do have some placements in Polk, some in Douglas. But
we've done Gordon before.
But we offer, even to go beyond the metro Atlanta area, we offer field placements internationally. So, I mean, COVID has, of course, hampered that a little bit.
Sure.
But we've had placements in China, Belize, Ecuador,
Costa Rica, Brazil.
Korea, Brazil. So we offer a multitude of opportunities for students to experience diversity within our college, and different grade bands. Again, even if they're teaching, even if you're an elementary school major, you can have an experience that goes beyond the elementary school setting.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's nice to know.
Yeah.
For
Well, we
all of
have
them.
our clinical education placements and partnerships office does facilitate the placement of our teachers, but our programs are all built to become for the student to eventually become certified in the state of Georgia. But that doesn't mean that we don't go beyond the borders of Georgia.
Right.
So.
Right. Makes sense. So let's talk a little bit about supporting students for success through their college units.
Oh, so, well, then that would probably be through, of course, Education Student Services, which advises our students from the moment. Ideally, we want students who are education majors or intend to be education majors to visit their advisors, whether that is in Education Student Services, which advises programs that are housed within the Bagwell College of Education, as well as history and health and PE majors. But we also encourage students to seek support from their faculty advisors in programs that are outside of the Bagwell College of Education that are co-hosted by our EPP or our EPP, Education Profession Provider. But we want students to be supported throughout their career. They can always, and there's always interaction. There's BCOE_admit, which is the admissions email address, BCOE_admit at kennesaw.edu. Answers questions regarding admission requirements. It's a separate admission requirement. So KSU, once you're admitted to KSU, you also, as you progress in your education at KSU, you'll encounter interactions, or you'll be in courses where we will introduce you to the requirements for admission to the College of Education. So BCOE_admit answers questions for admissions. BCOE_advising, we support virtually. We've adapted to COVID-19 and the new norm. And then as they progress in their education, we have multiple email addresses, so BCOE_certification with certification questions. So we try to support as best as we can throughout their studies, the student and their success. So we have engagement with the students from the staff level to the faculty level to the dean level to the associate dean. Our college tries to engage as best as possible with every student.
Nice. You mentioned, well, one, you mentioned a lot of acronyms. So let's let's throw that out there. That for people out there, if you're planning on going into education, you're going to learn a lot of acronyms.
Absolutely.
So I did want to point that out, but
not intentionally to confuse people.
Yeah. And we've talked about this a little bit, just kind of here and there. But where do our graduates go? What do our graduates? I know that may sound silly to say because we're talking about education, but where do our graduates go? You mentioned some. We have partnerships here locally. We have we've had placements internationally. But where do our graduates go, and how much money can they expect to make? I know that's a strange thing to talk about.
Really?
Just money.
Really
like,
strange.
I mean, yeah, Kelly and I know each other a long time, but Dr. De La Cruz, we just met. We met virtually, like everybody else nowadays. We're all meeting virtually. I do want to talk about virtual stuff too in a second.
Absolutely.
But where can our graduates expect to go? Which kind of jobs can they expect to get, and then how much money can they expect to make?
I really feel like when they're placed in the year-long clinical experience here in the Bagwell College of Education with our partner districts want to scoop them up right away.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And offer them contracts, and it's amazing because a lot of students I teach are like, oh, I got a job, and I'm like, wow, it's not even the end of the school year yet, and you have a contract. So I think that the reputation is known in the community that we produce awesome, amazing teachers. So a lot stay locally. I've heard from a few of my students who teach out of state, which might have some different qualifications. They might have to take another entry-level test or something, but they get their certification there. And then I've had a few recently who say, we want to teach in China, or we want to go teach in a school in Korea. Will you give me a letter of recommendation? I'm like, yeah, that's amazing. And then I'll have Kelly answer the payment question, the salary.
Well, the average teacher pay for the state of Georgia average is $55,000. That's not necessarily the starting pay for it. It's totally dependent on the school district, what the pay is going to be. The value there is going to be urban versus suburban, the cost of living associated with being a teacher in that area. So what we find is the average is around 55. Going from a bachelor's to a master's, which is what we see a lot of teachers do, it's usually on average about a $5,000 a year pay bump, which is an encouraging thing. Not always do you see a pay bump for getting an advanced degree, but within education, that's very common. But to piggyback on what Dr. De La Cruz has said, I've done paperwork for students who are teaching in Morocco, Kuwait, China, Hong Kong, part of China, of course, and they are teaching in Korea, but we have students within the United States that are teaching in Alaska, Hawaii. Just this past year, I did paperwork for people moving to Alaska, Hawaii, Colorado, Montana, Connecticut, and New York. So, I mean, it's a good variety of teachers. They're not, our students are not necessarily staying pigeonholed in this localized area. They're moving beyond these boundaries. And I think that's a testimony to what we have done as an institution and as a college. We have enabled them, empowered them to know that they can step out beyond their comfort zone.
I'll share my own story. And so I have two daughters. My youngest is in second grade. She goes to Pickett's Mill Elementary. Shout out to Pickett's Mill. You're awesome. Go Pirates. And pretty much it's funny to me. I say funny. That's probably the way I talk all the time. But pretty much every one of my daughter's teachers has had some degree come from KSU. It's awesome. I mean, from the principal down, you're like, oh, okay, you got your doctorate from Bagwell at KSU. Oh, you got your master's from Bagwell. You did your undergrad and your master's. For me, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It means I have to give away a lot of stuff too. Like, oh, you want some keychains? You need some T-shirts? Because we want them repping KSU all the time. But no, it's just been phenomenal, even from a personal level.
Yeah.
It's my daughter is loving school and has incredible teachers and has had incredible teachers, and I think even just personally and working for the university, it gives me a lot of pride to be able to come here and be a part of education that also leaves to educate others, right? And to know that we do a really good job producing educators. So that's my little personal anecdote there, and love you, Pickett's Mill. So we have had some really cool building expansions for the Bagwell College of Ed. So I know we want to talk about that a little bit because it is an impressive place to come study.
So here is the Bagwell College of Education, and there was an expansion built, I think it was finished in 2015. And so if you come to the Bagwell College of Education, your classrooms are practically brand new. So that's the outside, it's so beautiful. That's from the other side, entering into our literacy clinic there, where the Big Al bus stops. This is the inside of the Bagwell Education Building lobby, where you can see that there's tables right now, spaced out for social distancing. But typically, there's study groups. We have study areas that overlook Kennesaw Mountain, just beautiful views on our third floor, fourth floor. We have lab classrooms, announcement boards, all of those kind of things. So I guess going into lab classrooms, can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you have some videos you want to reference as well.
Yeah.
I believe. Okay, yeah, feel free.
Yeah,
Talk
so
about
the
lab
first one we have here is our innovation lab. So this really puts us to the forefront here in technology. So Coach Helen Maddox is the director of our innovation lab, and as you can see there, we had some Lake Forest fifth graders come out a couple years in a row and experience the innovation lab. We have green screen, we have 3D printer, we have Ozobots, coding things, all within the lab. So our faculty.
That wasn't an acronym. That's an actual name.
Ozobots.
Ozobots.
Yeah, they're like little robots that the little kids can control on a mat and it moves around. They code them.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm sure your children have done.
They
know so
they're
much.
so excited about
That
it.
sounds like-
It's over your head.
Yeah,
maybe.
I'm like, what? Robots? Anything? Yeah, I think we experienced something. It sounds like she's probably played with them at school and done whatever at school, learned at school. But I feel like she did something like that at the Apple Store one time, coding on a Mac, on an iPad, and then there were some things that. Whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know.
We
It's
do
way
it at
beyond me.
BCOE.
There
We
you
do
go.
it in the
That's
College
good.
of Ed.
That's cool. That's cool.
So not only do the faculty, we can reserve the lab, and we can bring our teacher candidates in to experience all this wonderful technology, but we also, bring student field trips in, and they get to experience the technology as well. So that's our innovation lab, and kind of going with that is our maker bus, and so that's kind of like the innovation lab on wheels. So it's amazing, and so the bus goes out and consults with local school districts and teachers and classrooms, and the students actually get on the bus and they experience all that technology, like the 3D doodler pen, and they do crafts, anything to innovate the students.
Where has the bus been? How about that?
Wow, they work a lot with Fulton County, I know that, and I know Cobb County schools.
Marietta City, Gwinnett.
Yeah.
So all the places that everybody wants to work in education, all here in the metro area, and then all the places where we have partnerships.
But we're open to go anywhere if
you never know
asked.
who's watching. That's
Absolutely.
right.
Parents, educators, our maker bus is available.
That's cool. That's super cool.
We bring it to you.
Nice.
We also have an avatar lab, and that we have a video clip we're going to play about that.
Nice. Awesome. Let's check it out.
Teacher preparation is at its core looking at strategies that can reach all students. So in this lab we have 60 some odd different high-tech and low-tech devices, and these devices have been accessible to 500 plus pre-service teachers and a couple hundred community partners that have indeed visited the lab. The latest addition to the lab was actually provided by the Lexia Reading Core 5. This program is focused up to grade 5, and it provides different literacy-based instruction. And what is really nice about this program is the analytics and the data that is provided, which shows where the students' needs are so that teachers can indeed adjust the instruction. Well done. One of the core virtues of the Universal Design for Learning Lab is community engagement. We offer opportunities for families, for teachers, for agencies to come and visit the lab, and we are glad to be a resource to the community.
Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully you found those videos really cool, really informative, and we want to take a minute to talk through kind of what we're living through right now. I mean, it's partially the reason why, it's really a big reason why we're doing virtual open house. Kelly mentioned earlier, just threw out virtual, you know, because now it's just a part of our
everyday life.
Everyday life. It's part of our vocabulary. You know, you throw virtual in front of something and bada book, bada boom, there you go. It is what it is. And so I do want to talk about what an incredible time to, I mean, as unfortunate as it is, every industry has been affected by COVID-19. Every industry has turned in some fashion virtual. And how are our educators preparing students to live and work in this virtual world? I know we've talked about some of the labs, but what are some of the things that the Bagwell College of Education is doing to help our current students be prepared for the next thing like COVID-19?
I feel like we were on the forefront before it even hit.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
But one thing is that we have an amazing instructional technology. Shout out to the iTech faculty. They do live tech sessions, and they do them for the faculty and the students in the Bagwell College of Education. And so on a variety of platforms, like if you want to learn more about Zoom, Microsoft Teams, if you want to learn more about building a Bitmoji classroom, they can sure help you.
Oh, cool. I've seen some Bitmoji classrooms with my 7-year-old.
and when she says iTech, that's instructional technology. That's our iTech department. So yeah, and from the first week of the COVID shutdown, we responded very quickly. So.
And of course, in any of our programs, you take an iTech course, one or more iTech courses. But in addition to that, they're also doing the live sessions. We have the Avatar Lab, which you saw, which is amazing. And so professors can reserve the Avatar Lab, and our student teachers, our teacher candidates can actually interact with avatars. They can have parent-teacher conferences with these avatars, like a parent avatar is there, and you're holding a conference with them, which is pretty neat. They can also teach a lesson to like a small class, so they can practice as well. So that Avatar Lab is amazing, and that's our inclusive education department who houses that. And then we have our Universal Design for Learning Lab, which was also shown on the video, and that's our assistive technology devices, so students get used to all of those technologies as well. But other,
I mean, where COVID has entered and created a new normal, we've adapted such that it's now improved their diversity of the learning experience that the students have here at KSU. So where you might have encountered individuals who, or students who were gifted or had a physical disability, you're encountering people who have technology disabilities. So our teachers, where many industries, doctors' offices shut down for a month or two. Teachers, they did go home, but education can't stop. So we had to adapt, but also our students and our teachers in the public schools and the private schools, they still have to teach the children. I mean, because the children are still aging, they're still growing up. So we have to we feel like we've been as innovative as possible because we had to. Where other businesses, you know, the restaurant business, they could close down for a month at a time. Not that they wanted to.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, not that any of us
Right.
wanted them to. But education has to continue because children are still progressing and they still need that education. So where parents had to take up some of the activities as we first were hit with COVID, we've adapted by affording opportunities for virtual placements. So where our students used to be in public schools in Paulding County or in Cobb County, which was virtual until recently. Cobb County was virtual until recently. We still had our students placed in Cobb County. They just did virtual experiences. So they either went to the school and they were in the classroom with the teacher and teaching the students virtually, or they were at their home and the teacher was at their home and they were teaching virtually. So this, you know, one county, Paulding County, was teaching in class on campus or offering both. You know, you could be a stay-at-home student or you could be on campus, but some counties were all virtual. But we can't just say, you know, we have 400 students now that need to be placed by our clinical education placements and partnerships office. We had to facilitate our students still having a meaningful experience in their public school experiences, and some are of course placed in private schools, but we had to adapt, and I think BCOE, Bagwell College of Education, was at the forefront of adapting. And as is true with our iTech department, who was leading.
And I teach.
And I teach.
Shout out to I Teach because
Yeah.
they have an amazing newsletter. You should go up and sign up for it online. It's free, and they send free resources every week for parents, student teachers. Yeah, tons of information.
So prospective students out there interested in education, sign up for the iTeach newsletter. That's
Yes.
what I just heard.
Amazing.
Okay, there you go. That's at least one more action item for
there
you.
you go.
What have y'all heard back from our students that are doing virtual teaching assistantships? What's the feedback been? I'm sure it's difficult to wrap their brain around. Okay, this is something that I have to do, but also as we've been talking about, I mean, there's no better way to learn than in this kind of environment, being thrown into it. And also, a follow-up question to that will be not only what have you heard from students, but how do you think, this is a big question, how do you think COVID-19 and this virtual learning environment will change education moving forward?
I think that things are definitely going better now in the fall than they were in the spring, just because it was just so sudden.
Right.
And so the feedback from my students has been positive. I asked them with an emoji today, show me an emoji of how you're feeling. And they were all feeling really happy. So I was glad there was no crying emojis or blowing my head emojis. But yeah, definitely doing well. And you know, some challenges are when, you know, students in the classroom are, because some of them are face-to-face actually, and so sometimes their cooperating mentor teacher is out sick, and so they have to take over, and that's a perfect opportunity, and it's a challenge, but they're happy to do so. But online, just keeping students' attention and engagement, you got to keep it short segments, right? You know, you can't be going on for hours at a time, especially with our elementary age kids. Definitely.
Yeah, that is hard.
But I think what we're finding is that people go into teaching to interact with children, and it's difficult for them to see that they can't actively engage face to face, and we want that. We're humans. We want that interchange with a person face to face. We want that almost that feel good environment that's created when you engage face to face with a person. So what I think is the biggest challenge right now is to encourage people to see this as an opportunity to improve. Not that this is going to be the fixed norm that's always going to be, but really to determine that this is just an opportunity to grow, advance your abilities, but also know that this really is not going to be the we all like to say this is the new norm, we've had to adapt, but it's not. We're going to go back into the public schools. You know, our children are going to be taught in public schools. We're going to be back on this campus, you know, maybe not this semester, maybe not next semester, but this campus is going to be bustling, just as all our public schools are going to be bustling. I think we're getting back to that. We're getting back to that area of opportunity where everyone is you know, having to adapt, and this is the new norm, but it's an adaptable norm.
Yeah, it is an interesting point you made. I'm going to call it self-assessment. That thinking about teaching in a virtual environment, I know this even from myself, like having to do, I'm in a PhD program right now, and everything's virtual. And I'd much prefer, one, I'm old, I'd rather be in the classroom.
Yeah.
I just learn better looking at somebody's actual face than through the computer, right? But it has changed the way that I assess myself. I had no idea I was using so many facial expressions, you know, things like things like that. I do talk a lot with my hands, you know, and I miss being able to express myself in certain ways. So it's changed the way that I do express myself. And I agree, we are relational creatures. Humans, absolutely. There's no denying that we are relational creatures. And we want to be able to see body movement and see facial expression and all that kind of stuff. It helps the learning environment, it helps whatever we're doing in life. But there is a part of life that has shifted and I think that having to go through this experience, as horrible as it has been, being in a pandemic period, that our students and our current educators, to be honest, even my daughter's teacher who has been teaching for a few decades, and it's changed her. It's changed and not necessarily in a difficult way, but in a way that she is better prepared, as our students better prepared for any of these kinds of situations that may crop up in the future. And I would argue they're better prepared to teach in a diverse environment, like if they're going to teach internationally, if all of a sudden their life changes and they're going to go abroad, or they're going to move to a totally different state than the state of Georgia, and there's different expectations and different access to technology, and depending on where they are, you know, in that state, at a rural school, an urban school, suburban school, whatever it may be. So, you know, we hate to go through experiences like this, but we hope that we all learn from these kinds of experiences. So, yeah, much like y'all are being tasked with doing something different today by being on camera for Virtual Open House. So it's all learning experiences for everybody. I know we saw pictures of Bagwell, but I want to reference, we have, I'm going to call it impressive, because it truly is. It's my job to look at other schools and see what everybody else is doing and all their offerings, right? That's kind of one of my jobs. We have a truly impressive virtual tour of both campuses, but here particularly, if you want to see in depth in the Bagwell College of Ed, check out our virtual tour. So we actually have a video, we'll play that later on, that walks through both of our campuses, but pay attention to the Bagwell College of Ed and check out the Experience website. We call it Experience because it's not just take a virtual tour, it's Experience. Kennesaw State, right? Yeah, get it? So definitely check that out so you can see more of the Bagwell College of Ed. I have a question, and I ask this question every time I do a Facebook Live, and it's, if you were going to leave the students that are out there, and you can direct it towards parents, you can direct it, we probably have some high school counselors watching as well. If you're going to leave the folks out there in Facebook and YouTube land one piece of advice when it comes to the Bagwell College of Education, what would you leave them with?
I would say that we are preparing future educators. We're just so excited. We're excited to have you come on campus. We'll put up our contact information in a moment. I'd love to give you a personal tour of our Bagwell College of Education. And I just feel like it's just a great culture, definitely.
My thing, to piggyback on what Dr. Dela Cruz says, my thing would be to make the most out of your entire experience at KSU and in the Bagwell College of Education. If there's an opportunity for you to do an extra placement or to go outside of what you have as your comfort zone, I recommend doing that. so many people who have never stepped out of the state of Georgia have found that they have loved their international teaching experience, and many have even stayed international. So I think take advantage of all the opportunities that the Bagwell College of Education offers. The Avatar Lab, the Maker Bus, and this is for everyone from our undergrads to our grad students to our parents to employers, public school employers. We have a lot of opportunity that provides growth both personally and professionally. So I would say, yeah.
Nice.
Come to KSU.
There you
Come
go.
to the Bagwell College of
That's
Education.
right. Good pieces of advice. Any events, any virtual or in-person events, probably more virtual, coming up that y'all want to hype right now or tell people to watch out for?
Our Educators of Tomorrow event, yay!
There you go. Yay!
And so that's where we invite local school districts, mostly high schools that have the teaching as a pathway, teaching as a profession pathway, which are some courses you can take to get college credit for the teaching profession. So we invite those partners to come, and this year it's going to be virtually. Usually we invite our partners to come on campus and we give them a tour. But also, since it's virtually, we will be, recording the presentations, which are professors talking about what life is like here in the Bagwell College of Education and what it means to be a teacher. So we have that coming up, and you can, definitely email us because we'd love to send you the link. You can always watch the recordings later. So we have that coming up. What else? Oh gosh.
And it's a tough time of year because we're getting towards the end of the semester. And then it's finals and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing. We're in those unique times right now. So our future educators, but we always have, the Avatar Lab, our teacher resource activity corner, that's always open.
You want to talk more about that, what they do?
Yeah, well, our teacher resource activity corner has, it's got a library of DVDs, books, and materials that help our students in preparing presentations. We have a die cut lab. We have internet access there. We can help our track. It's called Teacher Resource Activity Corner.
Of course.
But
Another
our
acronym.
track, another acronym.
Yeah.
Our track center or our track corner will help students who need to make boards for presentations. It just offers a wonderful opportunity for students to add to their presentations, to add to their materials.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I know that y'all have thrown out a lot of resources today, so I would encourage everybody to go check out the Bagwell College of Education website. It is a deep website. There's a lot of information on the website. But if you're going to work in education, then you're probably at least getting accustomed to digging through a lot of information. So check it out. It's an awesome resource. And tell them one more time your contact info. That way, if they have future questions, want to get involved with the Future Educators of Tomorrow event, throw those resources out there one more time.
So our email is bcoe_advising@kennesaw.edu.
Easy peasy. And then if it's something admissions related,
It's
it'll
going to
get
be bcoe_admit, ADMIT, @kennesaw.edu.
nice. So start with BCOE and then run. Yeah, I know.
Yep, there you go.
Good, very
Yeah.
good. Well, thank y'all so much for
This was
spending
great.
time with us today, but more importantly, with everybody out there in Facebook and YouTube land. So incredible resources. If you have questions, you have further questions, something happens and it gets to 8 p.m. tonight and you go, oh my gosh, I forgot to ask that question. Just throw it there in the Facebook chat or on the YouTube chat, and we will answer those questions. So make sure even if it's 8 p.m. tonight, doesn't matter that the event's over, throw it there in the chat and we're going to answer your questions for you. Little heads up, so we've got the College of Computing and Software Engineering up next, and then to round out the night for the second day of Virtual Open House, it will be financial aid and scholarships. Big time finishing session. I know everybody's going to want to be back for that. Make sure you fill out the giveaway entry, so your giveaway entry for the Bagwell College of Education session. Make sure you do that. And then if you're going to participate in the rest of the sessions tonight, fill those out as well during the session. That way you can be entered to win the really cool raffle bag that I have here at my feet that I held up earlier, but I can't keep picking it up because my arm will fall off. So Bagwell College of Ed, thank y'all so much for being here. We always end with Hooty Hoo and Owl Eyes, so can you do it with me?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, Owl Eyes and say Hooty Hoo into the camera.
Hooty Hoo!
Hooty Hoo!
Greetings and welcome to Kennesaw State University. I'm Dr. Sylvia Carey Butler, Chief Diversity Officer here at Kennesaw, and I work in the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, where we are charged with fostering an inclusive learning and work environment that promotes an understanding of and appreciation for differences, and through our initiatives and programs, services, and trainings offered. The Office of Diversity and Inclusion offers a variety of learning and work opportunities. We have our Student Diversity Ambassadors program, where students get a chance to participate in programs that help their peers to have a welcoming and affirming experience. The Student Diversity Ambassadors receive a yearly stipend and expand the reach of the office. The Office of Diversity and Inclusion offers a wide variety of workshops such as developing cultural competencies, unconscious bias, and how to become an ally. Our office also hires student workers who have the opportunity to assist with programming and research as we prepare for campus events. We hope that you will choose to come to Kennesaw State University and take advantage of the many opportunities that Kennesaw State has to offer students. What separates us from other colleges and universities is our diversity. We are a vibrant and authentically diverse community committed to your success and engagement. I look forward to seeing you on campus. Go Future Owls.
Kennesaw State University is home to a legacy that is built on growth, transformation, and tenacity, and is one of Georgia's largest research-driven universities. We're honored that you've chosen to take a look around our campuses. Let's show you around. At KSU, our students come first, empowered to seek, strive, and discover their own path forward. With 13 different colleges on 2 Metro Atlanta campuses, the KSU community prides itself on being a comprehensive, top-tier, research-driven university with more than 150 undergraduate and graduate programs with nearly 38,000 students from 92 countries around the globe. Our two main campuses, Kennesaw and Marietta, generate energy and excitement. And with our Big Owl bus, it's easy to move from one campus to the other. On the Kennesaw campus, you'll find the Campus Green, the social hub of the Kennesaw campus. You'll also find the Coles College of Business, one of the top business schools in the country. The Wellstar College of Health and Human Services is home to one of the top nursing programs in the state, with full nursing labs for students to practice in. And the amazing College of the Arts, with several outstanding performance centers around campus, including the largest dance studio in the Atlanta area that supports the largest dance program in the state. Humanities and social sciences houses popular degrees in such fields as communications, criminal justice, political science, and psychology. Also on the Kennesaw campus is the Bagwell College of Education, which is one of the leading producers of teachers in Georgia and consistently graduates top-level educators for future generations. Our College of Science and Mathematics is housed in a state-of-the-art building, including labs and equipment for top-level research. Coming in 2021, our new Academic Learning Center will be a sight to behold and will house KSU's Journey Honors College, which provides students with enhanced academic experiences, including community engagement, leadership, undergraduate research, and global education offerings like the President's Emerging Global Scholars Program. The new center will also feature state-of-the-art advising, tutoring, and study space. And when it's time for graduation or a major sporting event, head over to the Convocation Center on the Kennesaw campus. Interested in athletics? We have 18 NCAA Division I athletic teams, including soccer, volleyball, basketball, baseball, and, yep, football. As two-time conference champs, the Fighting Owls are a force to be reckoned with. Go Owls! And be sure to check out the Betty L. Siegel Student Recreation and Activity Center, a beacon of student activities on our Kennesaw campus. Our student body is incredibly active. If you're looking for an activity on campus, chances are we've got it. When you get hungry, make sure to swing by the Commons, one of the top 10 university dining halls in the country. Or if you're on the Marietta campus, go to Stinger's to sample its impressive menu and assortment of options. Our housing options are comfortable, affordable, and right on campus. You'll love our apartment style and traditional housing options whether you're on the Kennesaw or Marietta campus. On the Marietta campus, you'll be impressed by the Southern Polytechnic College of Engineering and Engineering Technology, Georgia's second largest engineering school with nearly 5,000 students, a leading producer of the state's engineering workforce, and home of the annual pumpkin launch. And if you think that's cool, you should check out the College of Architecture and Construction Management, which embodies community engagement with work that can be seen throughout Metro Atlanta and is home to one of the nation's best student home building competition teams. Not to be outdone, our College of Computing and Software Engineering develops top talent with many fully resourced labs, including a motion capture lab used to make content for video games and movies. We've just scratched the surface of everything there is to see and experience at Kennesaw State. We look forward to helping you find your wings as an owl. Together, we're ascending.
Welcome to the College of Software, I already messed it up. College of Computing and Software Engineering. It's one of the longest named colleges. And I just left another session, so that's why I was like, Jordan, don't trip up on the name. So Computing and Software Engineering, really excited to have the second session today for the second Virtual Open House day. Okay, the way that you should do this is if you have a question for these fine folks that are on camera with us, you should post it in the chat. If you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube, post your question about computing and software engineering there in the chat, and we will answer these questions live. We also have some awesome representatives from College of Computing and Software Engineering. I'm probably going to start saying CCSE because it's a whole lot shorter, right?
Shorter.
Yeah, if you end up being a KSU student, then it'll be CCSE, and it's way shorter. But post them there in the chat, and we'll make sure to answer those live while we're going through the session today. Also, reminder, so if you missed the first session, it was the College of Ed, and I talked about a raffle giveaway that we're having for Virtual Open House. So I want to show it off. So if you're coming in and you're learning about computing and software engineering, this could be yours.
Ooh.
Yes. Ooh. There could be a computer in here.
Right.
There's not, but there could be. Right?
Be.
It
Keys
could hold
to
a
new
computer.
car.
Yeah, keys to a new car, exactly.
Could be.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, all sorts of cool things that are in here. You have no idea what's in here, but you have to win it to find out what is in here. So, how do you do that? Fill out the raffle giveaway. So if you're watching this session, right there at the top of the screen is a link. It's a bit.ly link. It'll send you to, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, and it will send you to the raffle giveaway entry site. Fill that out every session that you watch. The more sessions you watch and participate in, the better chance you have of winning. We will draw the winner of this bag and all of its contents. Ooh, little contents are peeking out. We will draw the winner on Monday, October the 26th. So not that far away, pretty quick turnaround time. Find out if you've won this really cool bag and everything that is inside of it. We're going to do some intros here. I'm going to let our wonderful folks from Computing and Software Engineering introduce themselves, and then we're going to jump to a video from Dean Preston. So y'all take it away.
Okay, so my name is Sabiha Iqbal. I'm a student ambassador here at Kennesaw State for the College of Computing, and I'm studying software engineering, and glad to have you guys.
Nice.
My name is Mike Franklin, Dr. Franklin from the College of Computing and Software Engineering. CCSE is much shorter. I teach a lot of different things. Artificial intelligence is my research specialty. Build robots, take over the world kind of stuff.
Yes.
Don't be scared. You can't travel in time back to me. I've already been there. Don't worry. We're all protected. We're good. But that's what I do, and I'm very excited to share with you today some about our college and talk to you about how great Open House is.
Dr. Franklin, totally off the cuff question, but have you seen this TV show Next? It's on Fox.
I am familiar with the show. I haven't watched it yet. I will admit to being one of those people that likes to wait because I'm a bit of a binge watcher.
There you go.
So I kind of wait, and then because I don't want to get there and be like, I have to wait a week. That's not my game. So.
So little full disclosure, I just finished episode 3. There's only 3 out right now. So now I'm in that horrible place where it's like old TV, from
back
like
in the
2006. I have to wait. It stinks.
Right.
But this is totally your background.
It is.
It is wild. You can tell me all the things. Once you binge watch it, you can tell me all the things that went wrong in it.
That's right.
But I'm hooked already. So
just in general, we're a big fan of the big red button. Anytime, in fact, it's ironic. I work on the IEEE, which does standards for artificial intelligence, and one of our big one is the big red button, that we have some shut-off capability always built into all AI. So should have been there, should be there. I don't want to spoil the ending of the show. We were consulted, can't talk a lot about it, just throwing it out there. Be aware. So
super cool.
It makes for great TV, but we got you.
Oh, thank God. Okay, because I'm really concerned now. Like I'm about to wrap every device I have in tinfoil.
Yes.
And turn them all off. Pull out all of the SIM
Today's
cards.
show is sponsored by Reynolds aluminum wrap.
Yeah, smart. That's right. Awesome. Thank you. Sorry for that little sidebar there.
Always ready.
I mean, how cool it is, though, that the things that you do are out there and a real possibility, obviously as they should be, and they're even they're in multiple TV shows, but they're in this really cool TV show that's out right now. So awesome. Well, let's hear from Dean Preston about CCSE. We're going to jump to that video.
Hello, I'm John Preston, the Dean of the College of Computing and Software Engineering here at Kennesaw State University. On behalf of the faculty and the staff, we're really glad that you're interested in studying computing here at KSU. What you'll find is we have amazing programs at the undergraduate and graduate level in computer science, information technology, software engineering, game design and development, and analytics and data science. One thing that we do really well is combine the breadth of computing and give you exposure to a lot of different areas in computing while also letting you dive deep into a specific area that you can build a very strong portfolio. We're also actively engaged with our industry partners and provide world-class laboratories for research and development, as well as getting you connected with companies from your first year on to make sure that you have engaging speaker series, hackathon events, internships, and funded capstone experiences. We're really glad that you're interested in computing at KSU and hope that you'll join us here soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Dean Preston. We appreciate that. I hope everyone found that video informative about CCSE. I will say, from my experience, with prior open houses, CCSE always put on a really cool show. Impressive demonstrations. Talk a little bit about what the students would have seen if we had had a regular, traditional open house.
Well, not to be unkind, I'll tell you what you would have seen, but I'm also going to spoil the ending and tell you you're invited anytime to come and see it live and in person.
Nice.
Masks, social distance included. We can make it happen for you. So don't feel like I'm about to tease you about something you can't see. For our open houses, we really love it, and I'll tell you a big part of our community in the College of Computing and Software Engineering and the College of Engineering in general on the Marietta campus is that we have sort of this really cool cloistered environment, and so community is huge for us. We really love it. We kind of call it, I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble with the marketing folks, but we call it the Nerd Zoo down there. It's like nerds everywhere. It's like Nerdtopia. It's awesome. But because everyone on the campus is so sold out and bought into the idea of just nerddom and so many cultural things, so much time we spend hacking and building and doing all sorts of craziness, our version of Humans vs. Zombies is way better than any other campus around. So we really love having an open house because we want to invite people to our campus. The Kennesaw campus is fantastic. It's much larger, has so many great facilities. Wonderful, wonderful place, just a bob right away. But the Marietta campus has a different ambiance to it, and we love to have people come to the open house and kind of feel what that's about, what's going on there, because it is very cultural. When you do work like computing, software engineering, you spend a lot of time doing work. It's not a dance into class and do a little bit and be done with the day. You spend a lot of time working on projects, 6 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours. Most of our labs stay open at least till midnight, although they're probably open a little later. And you do a lot of work. So we want our campus to be very inviting to that. So it's one of the things I love about open house is inviting you to feel that and be a part of it. But you would see our labs. We have a game design development lab. We have a virtual reality lab. We have a motion capture lab there. We have several autonomous vehicle labs and other labs that we have in our space that are being built out and configured and added to every single month, really every single semester. We're adding more equipment, so those things are really cool to see. We talk a lot about games we've developed. We talk about programs we've done. We have a lot of information that we're putting together, and people usually like our show, like we said, because we talk about money somewhere along the way, about salaries and pay and opportunities. The bottom line is that we have a lot to offer in the College of Computing and Software Engineering, a lot of very desirable jobs, a lot of great opportunities. That's a topic for later on, but just to say that the open house would be an experience to meet with the professionals, and we usually have a representative, a faculty member from each one of the colleges, each one of the departments inside of our college, come and share a little bit about what it's like to work in that field, research in that field, kind of get an idea for the projects. And so that's what we do. So let me turn that back around and say we would love to have you come and join us on campus anytime. I say anytime because I don't have to set up the scheduling, but basically anytime. We'd love to have you, and they'll put you in groups if we need to. But it's a really great experience. We'd love for you to see that, play with the robots, fly some drones, don the VR helmets and take them for a ride.
All the time. When I first came to the Marietta campus, you see people doing random things. They'll be in their head, they're quiet, but there'll be someone like building a plane over there, like a miniature plane. There'll be someone like building a drone over there that can like carry objects to another place. So it's like a quieter environment. It's more chill environment, but there is a pro to that chill environment. You see people coming up with all these new different things that it's amazing. They're like such a smart. It's inspiring.
That's really cool. I do love it is a particular community on the Marietta campus and particularly in CCSE. And I imagine there's a lot of collaboration that goes into, you may have a particular project like you're talking about, and then you see somebody else or hear of somebody else working on something else, and that collaboration just happens naturally because of this community, this, as you said, nerd zoo. I think that's really cool. Nerdtopia, I love it.
The College of Computing is like definitely about collaboration. It's like, so right now I'm doing like an intro to software project. And the whole point is that a professor's trying to teach us, you're not gonna know everything. The College of Computing, there's like so many different programming languages, so many different IDEs. You're never gonna know everything there is to know about this field. But what's awesome is that your team member can deliver something you can't, and then they can take care of that aspect. There's something I can deliver that they probably can't, and that's what I can bring to the table. And so any job that you probably go to in this field, it's all about having that community and being united, bringing whatever you can to the table.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Dr. Franklin, you mentioned jobs, and you mentioned money there for a second. Let's talk a little bit about STEM jobs, or just jobs out there in general for students that are studying computing or are in CCSE.
Okay, so let me start off by saying one of the things that would have been part of Open House is a whole talk that ends with money but doesn't start with it. So let me give you the micro version of that. My philosophy that I've shared with thousands of students is this: find what you're passionate about and do that for a living. Find the thing that brings you joy, that clicks in your heart, that makes you extremely satisfied. Because if you have a job like that where you really enjoy what you're doing, then the pay becomes less relevant and the happiness is almost free. Now, second principle, once you find that job and you're in the flow of doing something you really love, make as much money as you can doing that, right? Make all the money you can. But don't ever put those in the reverse order, because I can tell you, I came out of the corporate world, which is part of my intro during the open house. I was in the IT world for about 900 years, and it was a really long season of my life, and I loved it. I was very successful in corporate America. I loved that kind of life and living, and it was fun. But there are parts of it where I had jobs where I was being paid way too much money and very, very miserable, and that didn't make me happy at all. There are other jobs where I made quite a bit less money, but I really loved everything I did, and those are the moments I had the greatest satisfaction. So for me, jobs are always my third priority in life. They're not anywhere near the top two. My family and my faith are way more important than those things, but that job is really about satisfaction. So I highly encourage you to find out what you're passionate about. And that's another thing we do at Open House, is try to help people figure out what kind of job you really want to have. The second part, though, is make as much money as you can doing that, right? Why not, right? Have all that money, then you can do a lot of things with that. You can do a lot of good in the community, a lot of good in the world with the money you make above your needs, right? So job market-wise, something like 85% of all jobs out there have some computing component to them. There are very few jobs out there anymore, even traditional mainline jobs, that are not going to be touched by computer science or by computational intelligence at some point. There are only about, well, there's somewhere less than, the number varies, there's something less than 8% of graduates that are all capable of taking those jobs. So of the 500,000 jobs out there available, that's a huge part of the community of jobs that are needed. We have a dearth of people that can fill those jobs. So please come and join us. Those jobs typically are about 25 to 45% more in pay than a standard college graduate job. So you can see that very easily by looking at job surveys and market surveys. And if you come to our CCSE website, we have a lot of that material, collateral material there for you to see it. A lot of great jobs in the Atlanta area if you want to stay here in the Southeast. A lot of great jobs across the United States if you want to travel a little bit. A lot of great jobs across the world, although you'll have to wait 2 weeks somewhere to get any of those jobs. But in a post-COVID world, we hope that that will be available again. A lot of those jobs involve travel. A lot of them involve programming. But the pay is always really good. Sometimes you have to work your way to the top. And so I would encourage you, and this is the other part of the open house talk, I would encourage you to really knock it out of the park while you're in school. Get as much experience as you can, do as many internships as you can, get as much experience under your belt. So when you sit in that job interview, the more times you can say yes, the more likely you are to get that job. And the better your education, the better you did in school, the higher the pay will be for that job. Always negotiate your salary. Don't ever lose that negotiation moment right when you're getting hired on. Right after they say, you're the one we want, you say, fantastic, now let's talk, right? But don't miss that opportunity. So tons of great jobs out there, but I'm going to tell you a little secret you need to hear. If you're not willing to work hard, the number of jobs out there won't matter. If you're not willing to be dedicated and put in the work, the type of job in the field won't matter and salaries are irrelevant. I just want to encourage you to learn those habits while you're in school so that when you get out there, you can take advantage of the amazing opportunity that a degree from Kennesaw State University is going to offer you. So,
awesome.
Awesome. I'm learning that now. I literally just sat here and listened to you because I'm a student as well, guys. So I'm just like, oh, okay, I better get as much experience as internships that I can. So thank you.
For sure. And that is a big differentiator, right? And I think it's easier when you have things like art and music. There are things that are it's very practical, that you make art and you do dance and you do theater. And I know Harrison was here the other day, and you know that there's a lot of practical experience that's demanded inside of that degree that you get. But how do you find that in other degrees, right? Mathematics or physics or chemistry, how do you get that experience? And I think internships and group projects are a great way to build your portfolio. And we use the model from the College of Art for that. Say, build a portfolio of your digital work, of everything you've done, and think about that portfolio every semester you're in school. We've segued into a different topic, but success in college is that's a big part of our open house, which is the incoming trajectory of students. So the months before you even show up on campus, we're already trying to get you prepared for success. We know our degree is going to teach you everything you need to know to get started and to be successful, but we're trying to build on that from even before you step on campus, change your tone and attitude about where you're headed.
That's awesome.
For success.
Awesome. And speaking about where they're heading, we hope that they're heading to CCSE. So let's talk a little big picture about CCSE, maybe an overview of the college, and then the actual bachelor's degrees that are within CCSE.
Perfect. In the College of Computing and Software Engineering, there are 4 departments, 4 majors you can go for. The first is computer science. That's probably the most obvious one. Computer science is about programming. It's about taking tasks and things that are being laid out and developing algorithms to approach them. So algorithm is a step-by-step methodology to attack that. If you think about it in the morning, I'll give you a little exercise you can think about right now. I'll ask in the room and all of you at home, I want to ask you a very important question. Are you, when you get dressed in the morning, are you sock, sock, shoe, shoe, or are you sock, shoe, sock, shoe?
Ooh.
So we'll ask in the room here, and we'll see you at home.
Yeah.
Who is sock, sock, shoe, shoe?
Me, definitely.
Sock, sock, shoe, shoe. So sock, sock, shoe, shoe people will tell you that's the only way to do it. They're wrong, but that's the rest of you sock, shoe people?
I'm sock, shoe, sock,
so
shoe.
some people didn't raise their hand, so I'm thinking they must not wear socks or shoes, but most people, there's an algorithm for how you get dressed in the morning. You may not realize it, but there's an algorithm. A lot of computer science is understanding the underlying algorithms for how we do what we do and how we need to solve problems for that, and then coding those things into a solution that really shows that solution in the real world and accomplishes a real world task. So that's a really important one. The next college is software engineering. Software engineering, a little what?
Gotta represent.
That's right. While it's related to the field of development and programming, it's really about the process of understanding how to take a humongous task and break it down into bite-sized pieces. So when you think about building a house, when you say, I want to build a house, you don't say, okay, just put it right over there. I mean, you have to lay out step-by-step plans for the foundation and clearing the ground and what timber needs to be ordered on this day to make sure it's there for this day. You don't want the pieces to all come at once because you have nowhere to put them. You don't want to put the sheetrock up before the walls are finished, et cetera, right? You better put the electrical in before the sheetrock, right? And all of that step-by-step plan, you think about how you build a house, it's that much more complicated in the digital world. So one of the hardest parts of software engineering is decoding what the client actually wants. Not what they say they want, but what they actually need. And that's an art. I know we call it engineering, but that's an art. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, right? And that art is really, really difficult. And that's what software engineering is about. How do I elicit customer needs and then describe them in a really profound way, a very clear way, and then make sure that those are executed in project management to make sure that we achieve the end goal. Anyone can code it up and it will be something like what they need, but to actually have validation and verification, in other words, it's exactly what they asked for and it works correctly, you have to have worked through the plan. So it's a lot about project management, but it isn't only about that. It's about engineering a solution. Right? And that's a lot about software engineering, how they design that process. The third area is information technology, and IT is how we accomplish all the things that we accomplish. So it does involve networking and physical hardware, routers and things like that. How do we connect the internet, the local area network, inside, outside, et cetera. A lot of it, though, is also about security and intrusion detection. It's very hard, it's a lot of very detailed information about hardware and how they're configured and how they connect with each other. Deals with operating systems and everything. So it's a very practical piece of how we actually implement all of these solutions. And so in the real world, you will see that the software engineers typically describe the entire project and they decide how it's going to work. They hand that over to 2 sets of people, the IT folks who are going to create the hardware solution and the infrastructure for that solution, and the computer science folks who then are going to come along and code up that solution and put it together. So that's how those 3 folks fit together. The fourth one, I can't seem to think of the fourth one. Let's see. Oh, that's right. Computer game design and development. That's what I teach in. It stands alone in some respects, and it actually is a combination. We typically do game design, which is the software engineering side of how you make a game and how you plan a video game. The IT side, we do our own work with drivers and video cards and codecs and all the ridiculous things we have to deal with, how to interface with the latest gesture, augmented reality input systems, whatever it might be, motion capture facilities. So we do our own IT work. Then, of course, we do computer science because we do the development part of that, which is coding up the solutions. It just turns out that game design development is a computer science degree that is slanted towards live action play. And it's a very different kind of code as opposed to being serial code. It has to work in a loop. It has to run live all the time. So it's a really cool way to program it. I don't think I have to advertise a lot for computer game design development. It is as awesome as it sounds. Yes, the question's going to come online. I'll go ahead and answer it for you so you guys can just answer it. What is your homework like? Well, you're going to hate this, but you must play very many video games. I know
All
it's terrible.
The parents just checked out.
Yeah.
They're just like, bye.
But you can't just play them. You have to actually understand how they work and design and build them. And it is a very hard degree. And I don't want to ruin the suspense. All 4 of these degrees are extremely challenging. There is no like simple pathway through. There's no easy one. People say, which one's the easy one? It's not anywhere in that college. They're
just
all
keep in mind,
difficult.
if it's easy, then you don't want it. It's not worth it.
That's right. And
That's
people
life
won't,
advice.
and people won't have to pay you to do it if it's easy, right?
Yeah,
it's hard work, but here's the catch. Even though it's super hard work, it's extremely gratifying. And I think that's what excites people the most, is doing something that matters and that they can see at the end of the day, here it really happens. It's working right in front of them. I tell people all the time in the IT world, we get excited about blinky lights. And you may not get excited about them, but when the light wasn't blinky and now it is blinky, that's a big deal, right? A lot of things happen to make the light go blinky blinky. So there's a lot of hard work. I don't want to make it sound any other way. It's really difficult, but it's super rewarding, and that's why the pay fits, because it's really hard work. A lot of people count on you, but the rewards are worth it. So.
Right.
Definitely.
And not to, I mean, you've already sold game design, but it's to me, and what I've heard on the street is that the industry of game design is a bigger industry than even the movie industry or the music industry, which I don't know that everybody knows that.
It's a good point, and I think 2020 has brought that out more than anything else. One of the very few industries that is absolutely blowing it up and really going gangbusters are video games, especially online video games. People being trapped at home has had them do a lot of streaming service stuff. So you see people like Netflix and others who Amazon, who do streaming services. They have a lot more subscriptions, a lot more utilization, but a lot of people playing games online and wanting to be a part of that community. What's really been interesting for us is not only do we see more people utilizing it, so you're talking about tens of billions of dollars of annual revenue, heading towards hundreds of billions of dollars in revenue, which eclipses the movie industry, right? You're starting to exceed that, and that's what's crazy about it. But it's really a question about profitability. Can we afford to make games in a way that we can keep making money at them? And that's the part where software engineering really plays a huge role in the game design and development area. But we've seen that even in 2020, the game industry is prospering, and everyone's able to work remotely, and that's been a real huge benefit. Right. That a lot of our industry is able to work remotely is a huge blessing, and I think that's something that really is something you're going to factor in more in a 2020 and post-COVID world than you did before. Can this job work remotely? Can I do things? I mean, does my job go away if we shut down the office, or do we keep working like normal? Right. And most of us are working like normal. And not even hitting the pause button at all. Right. In fact, we're accelerating. Now we took out that commute time. Now we have more time to dev and get things done.
Right. I don't know if you guys heard of this game Among Us. Everyone's obsessed.
It's a little sus that she brought that up right now. Just throwing that out there.
Well, yeah, that's because like the game that's like thriving right now. My brother's obsessed with it. Everyone's obsessed with it. I heard one guy made it. So I'm assuming during this quarantine time, this one guy was like, you know what? I'm bored. Let me just go and make this game. So everyone in the world is playing it now. He's made his money. Wow. And now everyone's obsessed with it.
Is this the new Fortnite?
It's like have you heard of like Wolverine or Mafia?
Yeah, Mafia or
I gotta be honest, I'm probably not the right person to be on set with you, because my video game knowledge stopped after NES.
So we're gonna pause the live stream while we play a video game. You guys just amuse yourselves for a minute.
Jordan's gonna go away. I do know of things like Steam and Twitch, and so you can watch other people playing. But yeah, no, my eyes and my motor senses can't keep up with with new video games. Right? It's just it's too intense.
Oh, I'll show you afterwards. It's a great game.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Okay, good. That's my homework for later on. Yeah, awesome. Well, speaking about some other cool things that are happening at the institution and things that y'all are involved in, tell the Facebook and the YouTube folks about Hackathon, Computing Showcase, all these cool things that are going on within CCSE.
Well, Hackathon is this event where students can come out and participate in these challenges, and companies will come that sponsor these. Sponsored companies will come out, and you get to choose what kind of challenges you're going to do, and the whole point of the hackathon is taking you out of your comfort zone and having to figure things out in a fraction of the time that you would regularly get to. So I've never personally done it, but this is what everyone says about hackathon. You get in there, you pick your challenge, you pick your team members. Again, remember, your team members, they're like crucial. You have to have that unity. And then you will sit there and be like, hey, what are we supposed to do again? And you'll just be there for 10 minutes, you and your team members, you'll just be confused. But that's the whole point. There is an advisor that comes from that company, and they'll tell you, they'll set you in the right direction, guide you, but it's up to you to learn that information really quickly and try to do the best you can. The whole point isn't to complete the challenge. The whole point is to get you out of your comfort zone and see what you can accomplish in that little time frame.
And I think that's a great example. Thank you for sharing that. A hackathon is an event that really is about what you're learning and how you can deal with stress and pressure. And thinking about a project you've never done before really opens up a lot of areas of interest for you. It's a very quick way to learn a lot about the different fields that surround you. That's just one of the events that we do. Hackathon is a great one. We do game jams as well. And I know that when we talk about game jam, that's a specific 48-hour period, starts on Friday night, goes through Sunday. And the game jam is a great event that we have on our campus. We do it twice a year. Sometimes we do it 3 times a year, every semester. And that particular game jam episode, I mean, it's really about intense gaming. Can I design an entire video game in 48 hours, right? There's very little sleep going on. There's a lot of energy drinks and other things, but we try and keep it healthy with lots of water and ask everyone to exercise. We really would invite everyone to take a shower, please, but doesn't always happen. Some things have to go in 48 hours. But it's a great event to help you understand what it's like to just push at a game, like what can I accomplish in 48 hours and coming together as a team and really accomplishing something amazing and incredible. And a lot of times when we look at Game Jam, we see a lot of amazing products come out of there that go to market. And a lot of people start their senior projects there. A lot of people will take those things and they will go and do some really amazing marketing, and often those games get published, and it's how they start their career. So we support a lot of independent studio type work, indie studio, dev in our community at the school. A little quick shout out. I don't know if I'm allowed to shout out, but I'm going to try it and see if I get something thrown at me. On the Marietta campus, we have dormitories there, but we also have Living Learning Villages, LLVs. Living Learning Village there is an area of interest where everyone in that LLV that lives in that area with you has the same interest. We have a gaming one that is in an area called Columns. So it's often each one has their own little house, every house has their own theme, and they kind of own their own space, but everyone in there is super gaming interest. We also have a little community center there that we just fixed up. It's the Owl Arcade. It is really cool, probably way too cool actually. And it's a place to go and play games, card games, board games, video games. We have a couple of retro arcade games, if you remember.
I saw them.
I don't know if anyone's old enough to remember the Star Wars vector-based game that was out 1,000 years ago, but if you've ever put a quarter in a slot, you'll remember that game. But it's there, a little Frogger just for fun. A lot of other things. We have a great big screen TV you can play games on, but it's about community and coming together. And I think that's another part of back to the theme of open house, is learning that you're not going to be in this alone. You're going to have a cohort of people that love what you love, that do what you do, you're going through school with you. I mean, we might have 41,000 students, but not all of them are in your same class, right? You will find that you're in classes with the same 20 or 30 people class semester after semester after semester. You get to know them really well. You get a lot of really great social bonding that goes on, and you help each other out. You help each other because someone's going to be going to excel in one course and struggle in another, and this is going to give you a chance to help them, and next semester they're helping you. And so there's a lot of community that goes into that. So I chase that rabbit a bit, but I say that to say that the gaming community and the ND Studio idea are really related to a big process we have in our college for incubation. We want to help people that have ideas in computer science and software engineering and IT and game design to be able to form small companies, take those companies and get started right now, build your own resume right now while you're in school, and turn those into a company that launches with you when you graduate. How cool would that be? I will tell you that it is absolutely completely possible to pay your way through college by working like this, doing independent stuff. I've had at least 2 students that have paid their way through school, including their rent, their apartment, everything, doing Twitch streaming. So, I mean, there are a lot of opportunities out there you might not realize.
Full circle.
It's pretty amazing. So just kind of putting those back together. I know we're talking about events, so let me come back to the Game Jam, but the Game Jam gives us a segue into those other areas that's about coming together for a weekend, but it lasts for a whole year, right? The people you meet and the things you do last for a year. And so we have a lot of events like that. I think the other one you mentioned is what we call the Computing Showcase. We always call it C-Day. And C-Day is at the end of every semester, our seniors in each of the programs come together and share. I call it an inverse job fair. So at a job fair, which we have frequently on our college and on our campus and for our college, we have job fairs where the companies come in and set up booths and you visit them and give them a resume. At C-Day, we invert the process. You are the one presenting, and you have posters and videos and things showing off your work, and they come in and they sort of shop around and they give you business cards. So instead of you handing out resumes, they're handing you business cards saying, hey, come contact us, right? Get in touch with us. It's a great way to showcase your work, build that experience, get that resume out there in front of a bunch of people, but really to practice your wares, right? To really get that process down. And we do mock interviews and other things that are part of that process to get you ready for the job market. So that happens at the end of every semester. The public is certainly welcome to come and hang out with those. I highly encourage incoming students or freshmen to come see that right away, so you kind of get it in your mind why this is important, and you start working towards that event at any point. You can even join up those teams. Even if you're not a senior, you can join up on those teams a lot of times and get a lot of great experience along the way.
Nice.
And that's one of the things that I love about the College of Computing, CCSE, is that everyone understands that it's about experience as well as, taking the classes. The classes are like a stepping stool, but they know they will give you the tools to actually go and figure things out. They'll put you in tough situations, but that has a great reward at the end. So I'm glad that the College of Computing does that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, nice.
And another little tidbit about that is about who we are. So I mentioned that I came out of industry. A lot of our professors on that campus and in our college have industry experience. So when they're teaching you in class, it's not just, hey, here's some great stuff to learn, here's some theory, but here's how this applies to the real world. And I think that was part of the Southern Poly heritage on the Marietta campus, and something that we really hold on to very strongly on the current KSU Marietta campus. And that is this mentality that we understand how industry works, and we interface really closely with the working world, and we understand their requirements and what they're looking for. And we want to prepare you not just theoretically for some abstract job, but practically for what's needed in industry. And so it's really cool how much students have commented to me over the years, how much they love that I bring entrepreneurial insight from starting businesses, bring in the IT world insight, practical, actual world insight from that, not just an academic pursuit. We have so many people that are amazing in our college. I don't know why they let me talk, probably because I'm loud. But we have amazing people, and I get to hang around them, and I'm proud to get to do so. I'm not nearly as experienced maybe as they are. I'm fairly new in the academic world, but I do know this. Every time I hang around our faculty, I find out more and more their great experience and how much they love delivering that to students. And I think that's another part of what you're saying, is that they want to deliver real world experiences. Sometimes we're a little tough on our students. not because we don't like you, but quite the opposite, because we love you. We want to see you succeed, and we know that if we don't help you right now to understand when to buckle down, when to get serious, when to really make strong effort, especially, and here's the thing that I'll tell you about our professors, when we know what you're capable of, we're going to keep driving you until we get that out of you, because that's what you need. It's not about measuring up to someone else. That's never the issue. It's about measuring up to what your capability is. And that's what we want to do, expand your capability and then call you to measure up to that. And that's a huge part of that. But C-Day really fits in nicely as a segue to say that we bring a lot of real-world experience for our students.
Nice. Yeah. Y'all have talked about a lot of really cool things. So I think to hammer home some of these different experiences, we've got some videos to show prospective students that are out there on Hackathon and Game Jam. So let's watch some of those videos right now.
Great.
We have 3 sponsors that are sponsoring challenges for our students, and they present problems to the students to actually solve.
This is the first time we've all met. This is the first time I've even talked to these people. It's going to be kind of interesting getting to learn each other. Biggest barriers, especially for us students in data science, is not having the information or the computing power to actually solve these problems. And so the hackathon's really useful in that aspect.
I'm glad to have this time, and I just want experience, just something I can add to my tool set in my career.
When we say computer, we mean the electronic computer.
Awesome. We wanted to go ahead and show you a video from CCSE's partnership with Cobb EMC, big local power company here in Cobb County that we're located in. So let's talk a little bit about internships and the availability of internships for CCSE students.
There's a ton of them. Currently, I'm in the process of trying to find an internship.
All right, I'm sure you'll have no problem.
Yeah, so the first thing that I had to do is go to Career Services, and they tell you right away, don't worry, you're going to be fine. It's really easy. They guide you through the process. It's very simple. And they make it, all the professors in the College of Computing, they all tell you that hey, make sure whatever knowledge you're learning from this, make sure you try to get an internship. And not only do they encourage you to do that, but one cool thing that one of my software engineering professors told me was that, hey, do you know at this college, you can get credit for doing an internship. So you could use that to, graduate. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. So now I can try. So not only will they help me and try to get me an internship, but it will also get me closer to graduating, which I thought was really nice.
Sabiha, what type of company would you like to work for, have an internship with, and what kind of position are you looking for?
I would love to be a project manager. As Michael was saying, project manager was like you get to kind of see what the client wants, and getting the requirements is not as easy as it seems, for sure not. And I get to kind of be that liaison between, the developers and, the client. So I get to do a lot of talking, which is wonderful.
Nice.
Yeah.
You've got the personality for
Thank
it.
you.
In the short amount of time I've known you.
Thank you.
It's very personable.
So
if you're out there and you own a company or you're in charge of something like this,
you
need to throw out your contact info so that they can say, I've got the internship for you. I want you.
Links are in the description, guys.
There you go. There
Connect
you go.
to the college, and we can happily put that together for you.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So internships are mission critical for us. There is just no substitute for experience. We believe that education is vitally important, and so even in our education, we make a strong push to get you industry ready and help you to really understand the practical application of what you're doing. But all of us have the same mission. We want you to find a job that's fulfilling. That job might be doing future research and going on to grad school, so we love to prepare you for that. But we are very committed to internships. Let me say two things really quickly. Why should you come to our college? Why should you come be a part of KSU in general and our college specifically? And let me tell you why. Two things that I brag on at every open house. Number one, we think your coursework is so important. We think it's your charted course, your pathway through those courses is so critical that we have professional advisors. Our professional advisors are awesome. They are so good at understanding all the nuances of finding which classes, what to take when. They're good at helping you understand when a quarter or semester is going to be too overloaded, about connecting with opportunities like you just mentioned, that you can do an internship for credit, or a lot of our students like to do directed study, where you work directly with a faculty member and do that. You do a directed study, you do a research, typically produce a paper that you can publish at a conference, and that's great work to do. That's a different kind of internship where you're doing something internally with a researcher, but it really shows future employers what you're all about. So our professional advisors are phenomenal at helping that. I highly recommend that you do that, but whatever college you're thinking about, you should probably ask them that question, because not many of them take it as seriously as we do. We have a whole crew of professional advisors in our college who know our programs inside out. They know all the gimmicks and shortcuts and tricks. They are the magic sauce. I suggest bringing them flowers and candy, whatever, gift cards, whatever. Starbucks. They're not allowed to take any of that stuff, but just I recommend it anyway because they will help you really have academic success. I encourage you to meet with them not just before you come, but meet with them every single semester to make sure you're on path to graduate and that you're taking the right pathway. So I really, really, really highly recommend that. That's huge. The second is internships, which are our topic for right now, because those are related to each other. So the advisors help you understand how to create an opportunity to do an internship, but we take internships so seriously that we have Dawn Tatum, who has done an absolutely dynamite job connecting industry partners with our students and creating internships and doing so many things. She has done so much hard work on areas such, even getting down to the nitty-gritty like intellectual property rights and talking to our lawyers about who owns intellectual property and how can we interface with clients who want to protect their own IP and how can we preserve the IP of what you invent and create while you're on an internship. Those are very difficult waters. That's very grown-up world, but it's real stuff. And she has done a dynamite job. But our college's commitment to internships goes to that point where we have someone who does this. She does a lot of things. She's an amazing instructor, but she also, like me, came out of the IT world, has a ton of real-world job experience, a fantastic person to sit and talk to about what it's like to work in the real world and out there, especially doing project management and other things. She's phenomenal, but it's more our college's commitment to that goes to that level. So this is something we're strongly committed to and we want to see happen, that we want you to be able to find internships and connect with industry partners, not just any old job out there, but something really germane to your field, something that's really going to help you and further your education. Here's what we also know. When you do an internship, you come back with a very specific set of questions. Here are skills I need to know. Which class fits with those? How do I make sure that I'm filling in this gap I didn't realize I had until I took an internship, right? How do I make sure I'm doing that? And so we think it really is a complement to education. It's not a conflict at all. So that's why we're nutso about them. We really, really, really want our students doing that. But there are tons of opportunities here, opportunities all around the world for you to find internships, and some of those involve education here. A lot of jobs on the campus. You can get a ton of jobs working with IT, working with software engineering jobs, project management, doing application development for projects that are happening right here on campus. So a lot of really great jobs, even for our students that have difficulty because they can't travel away from campus or they have restrictions about work visas or other things. We have a lot of opportunities that you can have as a student that don't require you to have to go out into the workforce at all. So a lot of really cool opportunities all the way around for those internships.
And what I'll say is, even when you're a freshman, all the professors, everyone encourages you to get an internship right away. And that's so important, because even though you think like you don't know this, like I always feel like that with hackathon, with internships, I'm like, oh, I never know enough, especially in the College of Computing when there's like almost an infinite amount of information. You're like, I never know enough. But when you go and do the internship, after they encourage you, then you come back and you're like, okay, I have an idea now. So then you go into your next class and you're like, oh wait, I did that. And then you have like a specific set of questions of how can I improve on that? And then how could I have done that job better? So.
Awesome. I know we've got a question from the audience, so let's take that question. Adam, fire away.
Yes, so we've got a couple of questions here kind of rolled into one. So we had people asking what opportunities there were to combine, for instance, computer science with whether it be another engineering program over on the Marietta campus, or if it was something completely different, such as an entrepreneurship program, or even if you had the opportunity just to take courses in those fields to get a little bit more of an interdisciplinary experience.
Sure. Nice.
In the real world of IT, in the workforce, they call everything IT or IS. So everything out there is either information technology or information services. So CS majors would go into work for the IT department or the IS department. IT people obviously would. Software engineers would work for IT. So it gets really confusing, especially when you talk to parents or you talk to employers, because from their perspective, they don't really differentiate between CS and IT and SWE, software engineering, and other things. It's not as clear to them. So sometimes that's part of the question, is understanding where that combination happens. The question is, can you double major? The answer to that is always true. You can always double major. The better question is, should I double major in something like this? Let me just say this as plainly as I can. A major on the Marietta campus in the College of Computing or the College of Engineering, those majors are extremely difficult. There's a lot of work involved, a lot of hours you're going to spend. So you want to be practical to make sure you're getting out of your education what you want. What I would highly recommend is a minor, and there are a number of amazing minors. So you can take, as an example, a computer science degree and do a minor in game design and development. If you know you want to be a hardcore programmer, but you'd like to apply that to the gaming field, that's a great way to do it. Or vice versa, if you want to be a game design major and you want to minor in computer science. So I want to really beef up my resume for computer jobs, but I also my heartbeat is here. So those minors are really good. Or if you want to take an entrepreneurial route, we have the IS program as well on the Kennesaw campus that has a lot of very practical outward-facing classes. And of course, the entire College of Business. There are many entrepreneurial minors that you can get involved with. It's a little complicated, so I won't try to decode that on this short conversation. But the bottom line is this. Let me go back to my professional advisors pitch. They're so good at what they do. As early as you can, hang out with some of us as professors and hang out with the folks in advising, and let's have a conversation about what you really want to do. Because I don't want to steer you towards doing something uber complicated, like double majoring in 2 really difficult programs, when what you might better do, you might choose as a better pathway, is to do an undergrad and a master's in 5 years. So we have a number of initiatives that are coming out, but we have a number of students that are already doing this, where you combine part of your master's degree in your undergraduate, and when you do that, in 5 years you can graduate with an undergraduate in game design and development and a master's degree in computer science, as an example. Or you can do an undergrad in IT and then a master's master's degree in software engineering. You can make some really good combinations that way. And those ideas might actually be a better way to think about what you might consider double majoring or adding extra knowledge to your field or rounding out your knowledge. So just be careful about that, but definitely would love to have the conversation. Of course, it's all possible, but we're going to help you understand what's practical and what's pragmatic, what makes sense. We want to be a part of that conversation with you. So
I kind of want to, if we have time, I want to kind of jump on that a little bit. You were saying about double majors. So from a student's perspective, I know that I was looking at the computer science catalog and then the software engineering catalog. And then I noticed something. There's only five classes are different. Everything else is the same. So then I was like, wait, I should double major in computer science and software engineering. It's literally only 5 classes.
If
so
it
then
only worked that way.
So then I would ask you, like, what would you say if someone had that thought?
Right, so great, it's a great thought. And you're correct. There is a lot of similarity from core classes and things like that. But let me just make sure you understand that there's a requirement that has nothing to do with Kennesaw State University. It's the Board of Regents and all accrediting bodies that every degree, that if you get a full undergraduate degree, you have to have X number of unique hours. So you can't double dip for classes just because they happen to be in the same program. In fact, many colleges won't let you double major in another degree from that college, right? So you can't double major in computer science and IT in some perspectives. Like some colleges have that as a rule. But it's the unique hours problem that you would have. You would have to take many electives to fill up that unique hours obligation. So we're wandering into technical world here, but but the bottom line is, I'd rather spend time charting a pathway for you that helps you achieve that goal. But you can absolutely minor in that other subject, and that way you only take that key, and that minor shows up for transcripts. It shows up. You can tell people when you apply for jobs, you can put that minor on there, and that's a very strong. This says, hey, you're really serious about this. You really understand there's more to this than just your world. So I highly recommend minoring for sure in that situation. You had a follow-up. I'm sorry. We're good?
We're good. We're good.
Great.
I want to ask a kind of a larger question to Sabiha about what you've been involved in as a student, and then I'll say we're very close to the end of our time. So maybe talk a little bit about maybe some of the cool lectures you've seen or been a part of, as well as some of the clubs and organizations that you're involved in CCSE or just at KSU.
In general?
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple of different organizations. The first thing I'll say is when I first started college, I had no interest in trying to join a club or an organization, but I'm going to get to why you should. Initially, I was just like, okay, I'm going to do college, I'm going to take my classes, I'm going to get in, I'm going to get out. That's it. That's all you need to do. My mind was very focused on, okay, college is just a place to get your degree. I don't need this experience. And then I went to one event. I think it was Women in STEM, or Women in Technology. That's a club here at Kennesaw State. And nothing much happened. It was just a little chat room where I got to talk to other people that were essentially doing the same major as I was, or taking the same core classes. And that just taught me, hey, there's a world bigger than just my classes. I'm not just learning, I'm making connections, I'm making friends, I'm having some sort of comfort, like I can go to you if I need your help. And that kind of drove me to keep looking around and joining other clubs. So Women in STEM or Women in Technology was one of the clubs that I joined. And then there's also a robotics club, I believe, that I didn't get too into, but that's the great thing about being in clubs and organizations. You don't necessarily have to be a member. You can go to the events, get a little sneak peek, and you can just, explore. That's the perfect time to do this.
And I think those are great ways to get very practical experience as well. It's not the same as an internship, but in many ways it's a little bit better because it's very intense and it's voluntary. So we have a number of clubs, like you mentioned, that are on the Marietta campus that are really pointed towards that. There are a number of them in the overall Kennesaw campus and overall at the university that are really great to be a part of, and they help you connect with your wider community, and they help you to be conversant in your topic and your field. But some of them are super nerdy and it's a lot of fun. I'm the advisor for one of the autonomous vehicle teams, which is kind of fun, like build robots that do the thing. You hit the button and you just watch them do, and you pray they do what you ask them to do, but who knows when they're going to take over the world. But we do that, and there's underwater, there's aerial robotics teams, and there are things in our college like the Game Design Development Club, very active group. They have weekly meetings and monthly events. There are so many things like that that help you connect with other students and get a broader perspective. They do a lot of lectures, a lot of meetings, a lot of drills and exercises, trainings, all kinds of things. So I cannot recommend enough how critical those things are
and,
to be a
as
part
you were
of.
saying about the lecture events, a lot of cool companies come to Kennesaw, by the way. Like Google came out one time. I don't know the names of the other places, but the one I went to was Google.
Google.
Google. That's one
big
I
enough
had.
for most people.
Have you heard of
That's
that?
big
Maybe
enough.
you've heard of that. You can Google it if you haven't.
Exactly. And I remember when they came, they told me, hey, if you want to be a software engineer at Google, you need to take data structures, algorithm analysis. I'm like, wait a second. Algorithm analysis is a part of my catalog. So by hearing that lecture, I chose to take that as an elective. Yeah, and I'm like, okay, hire me, Google.
There you
I'm
go.
here.
That's right. Because if you're ready for Google, you'll probably ready for anybody else, right? Any other company, relatively speaking. Yeah.
Yeah, so they just teach you a lot of knowledge, like that you won't get just in a class setting. It makes the world it's more realistic the way that the College of Computing sets up all the students. But I forgot your original question. I'm so sorry.
No, you answered it.
That was perfect.
Let's talk about who's come to campus, and let's talk about clubs and organizations, cool things that you're involved in. So awesome.
I think that's part of it. You need to make sure that you schedule some time to do that. I think one of the other open house topics I talk about is scheduling. One of the things you're going to learn is what you're good at and what you're poor at, and you need to ask for help about the things that you need support with. And one of those things every college student struggles with is to understand time. And how to manage time. So I highly recommend getting together with advisors. I'm happy to sit and talk with you as well about block scheduling, but about helping to organize your life so you don't miss out on the myriad amazing opportunities that come to campus. You don't want to miss those talks and clubs and activities. You certainly don't want to miss class, and you want to turn in everything on time.
Yeah, right.
Grades are always better if you submit all your assignments. Just throwing it out there.
It's a very good point. Yeah. Well, speaking of time, we are at our time. Thank y'all so much. Y'all have been incredible. I mean, the brain exploding emoji, that's the way I feel right now, because I'm out of my comfort zone. But I am glad that there are people like the two of you that have been studying and have studied and are continuous learners, right? And sharing this information, because it's, one, so needed in today and in future society. And so applicable to right now, the virtual world we're living in. So for students that are out there, I recommend you definitely take a look at the CCSE website. We've got the website right there on the screen, and then all of the incredible people. You can see a lot of the people there on the screen that are a part of CCSE. So please reach out to the College of Computing and Software Engineering if you have more questions, if you need additional help, because there's definitely a myriad of, that's a wrong word to use right now, but I'm trying to think of all the cool words you said earlier, Dr. Franklin.
Myriad is a good one.
Myriad's a good one.
Myriad opportunities.
There you go, exactly.
My old school is myriad literally means 10,000, so just say myriad opportunities. That way, now the English folks can come and be like, you can use it many different ways. I'm like, no, the old way is the right way.
There you go, nice. Myriad opportunities.
10,000, literally 10,000 opportunities.
In
we
CCSE.
counted.
That's awesome. I love it, I love it. Well, thank you all so much. We always end with owl eyes and a hooty hoo. So will you do it with me and look at the camera?
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Hooty hoo.
Hooty hoo.
Hoo.
You don't go to Kennesaw State just for a degree. You go to find your voice. You go to find your heart. You go to find your code. You go to find your wings. Find your wings at Kennesaw State University.
Kennesaw State University is home to a legacy that is built on growth, transformation, and tenacity, and is one of Georgia's largest research-driven universities. We're honored that you've chosen to take a look around our campuses. Let's show you around. At KSU, our students come first, empowered to seek, strive, and discover their own path forward. With 13 different colleges on 2 Metro Atlanta campuses, the KSU community prides itself on being a comprehensive, top-tier, research-driven university with more than 150 undergraduate and graduate programs with nearly 38,000 students from 92 countries around the globe. Our 2 main campuses, Kennesaw and Marietta, generate energy and excitement. And with our Big Owl bus, it's easy to move from one campus to the other. On the Kennesaw campus, you'll find the Campus Green, the social hub of the Kennesaw campus. You'll also find the Coles College of Business, one of the top business schools in the country. The Wellstar College of Health and Human Services is home to one of the top nursing programs in the state, with full nursing labs for students to practice in. And the amazing College of the Arts, with several outstanding performance centers around campus, including the largest dance studio in the Atlanta area that supports the largest dance program in the state. Humanities and Social Sciences houses popular degrees in such fields as communications, criminal justice, political science, and psychology. Also on the Kennesaw campus is the Bagwell College of Education, which is one of the leading producers of teachers in Georgia and consistently graduates top-level educators for future generations. Our College of Science and Mathematics is housed in a state-of-the-art building, including labs and equipment for top-level research. Coming in 2021, our new Academic Learning Center will be a sight to behold and will house KSU's Journey Honors College, which provides students with enhanced academic experiences, including community engagement, leadership, undergraduate research, and global education offerings like the President's Emerging Global Scholars Program. The new center will also feature state-of-the-art advising, tutoring, and study space. And when it's time for graduation or a major sporting event, head over to the Convocation Center on the Kennesaw campus. Interested in athletics? We have 18 NCAA Division I athletic teams, including soccer, volleyball, basketball, baseball, and, yep, football. As two-time conference champs, the Fighting Owls are a force to be reckoned with. Go Owls! And be sure to check out the Betty L. Siegel Student Recreation and Activity Center, a beacon of student activities on our Kennesaw campus. Our student body is incredibly active. If you're looking for an activity on campus, chances are we've got it. When you get hungry, make sure to swing by the Commons, one of the top 10 university dining halls in the country. Or if you're on the Marietta campus, go to Stinger's to sample its impressive menu and assortment of options. Our housing options are comfortable, affordable, and right on campus. You'll love our apartment style and traditional housing options whether you're on the Kennesaw or Marietta campus. On the Marietta campus, you'll be impressed by the Southern Polytechnic College of Engineering and Engineering Technology, Georgia's second largest engineering school with nearly 5,000 students, a leading producer of the state's engineering workforce, and home of the annual pumpkin launch. And if you think that's cool, you should check out the College of Architecture and Construction Management, which embodies community engagement with work that can be seen throughout Metro Atlanta and is home to one of the nation's best student home building competition teams. Not to be outdone, our College of Computing and Software Engineering develops top talent with many fully resourced labs, including a motion capture lab used to make content for video games and movies. We've just scratched the surface of everything there is to see and experience at Kennesaw State. We look forward to helping you find your wings as an owl. Together, we're ascending.
Welcome to tonight's Office of Scholarships and Financial Aid session. Always a popular session. You want to know how to pay for college now that you know you want to come to KSU. So my name is Nicole. I am a transfer admissions counselor here at Kennesaw State. And I want to let you know how we're going to do this tonight. So this is an interactive session. We want you to participate. So whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, make sure that you drop those questions in the chat. We know everyone has questions about financial aid. Please make sure you drop those in the chat. We'll be able to answer them here live for you. They'll get answered in the chat. And also in the chat, you will find a link to our raffle. For every session that you watch, you can register for our raffle. And this bag, it is heavy. My goodness, they've been talking about how heavy it is all night. It is heavy. This bag is full of amazing KSU swag. I don't know what all is in here, but when you win, you will find out. So every session that you attend, make sure that you register, click that link and register for our raffle. So I know that everyone has a ton of financial aid questions, so we're gonna go ahead and dive right in. I'm gonna let our guest from financial aid introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Abby Robbins. I've been with KSU a little over 2 years, and I'm a senior financial aid counselor.
And I'm Sarah Baumhoff, Interim Director of Student Support for the Office of Scholarships and Financial Aid. Just past 9 years here, so
Awesome.
Been here for a little while. So
Perfect. All right, well, I think we are going to get started with a video that's going to tell you all about the financial aid process.
When do we apply for financial aid?
The free application for federal student aid opens on October 1st for the next academic year, but you can apply as early as you want. That way, if you have to submit any additional documentation, you have plenty of time to submit that information. KSU's priority deadline for filing for FAFSA is March 1st, but be sure to use KSU school code 001577 on the FAFSA.
How and when can I apply for scholarships?
Access the scholarship application through OwlExpress using the link located on the Financial Aid tab. The application process is open to all accepted and currently enrolled students from November 1st through March 1st for the following academic year. Only one application is needed to be completed to apply for all of KSU's scholarships.
How do the Hope and Zelmo scholarships work?
We have to verify your status on georgiafutures.org to determine if you are eligible for the Hope or the Zell Miller scholarships. You can verify your status on georgiafutures.org as well. If you can see that you are eligible, most likely KSU will be able to see your status as well. You must complete an application to be evaluated for the Zell Miller or the Hope. You can file the FAFSA or the GSFA PPS on georgiafutures.org.
What is verification?
Verification is the way you verify information that you have submitted into FAFSA. You will submit certain documents to the Office of Student Financial Aid through your OwlExpress account. Once you have done that, you receive further instructions through your email. Around 30% of our students are picked each year by the U.S. Department of Education.
How much do I owe?
Once your student has registered for classes, all of their charges will be applied to their student account. If you are curious about tuition and fees, please visit the Bursar's Office website for a listing of tuition and fee charges.
How can I get more information or help?
Every student is assigned a financial aid counselor by the first letter of their last name. You can find the list of names under the Contact Us tab on the Office of Student Financial Aid's website. Stop by our office anytime for assistance, Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Fantastic. So, Sarah, what are some of the ways that students can go ahead and start the financial aid process? We know students always find that process really overwhelming. So, where's the best place to start?
So the first step, and the thing you will hear us say all the time, is it all starts with the FAFSA. That's the free application for federal student aid. It is a free application, and it opened for the 21-22 academic year on October 1st. So it is open right now. You can go fill it out. It uses your 2019 tax information. So you should have already filled that out or be finalizing it about now. That was what would have been due back in April, but we know because of COVID, some of the deadlines got extended for taxes, but they still should be filed by now. And we encourage you to file early, and everybody's always like, why do you want us to file in October? I mean, October is really early. I'm not coming to school for almost another year. Well, it gives you plenty of time and peace of mind to know that you've done the process. You filled out the FAFSA. If we have to ask you for more documents, you've got plenty of time to turn them in. And we have everything set and ready so that you know when you come to orientation this summer exactly what your financial aid will be and that you're ready to walk on campus and be ready to go.
And do students have to be accepted to KSU before they file their FAFSA?
Absolutely not. You can go ahead and fill it out and send it in while you're working through the admissions process, and then we will have it sitting here ready to go once you're accepted.
Perfect. And what type of aid does the FAFSA tell you that you qualify for? Does it apply to scholarships or HOPE?
So you can use the FAFSA to apply for any of the federal aid programs like the federal Pell Grant. It can serve as your application for Hope or Zell Miller Scholarship, so you can use it for that. We do have some internal scholarships that require you to fill out a FAFSA before you can apply for the scholarship or be eligible for the scholarship. So really that's just another incentive to apply early so that it's done and you have no issues with the scholarship process.
Perfect. And I know a lot of students are kind of electing not to submit a FAFSA because they think they're going to be stuck with student loans. If you are awarded any type of financial aid, do you have to accept that aid?
Absolutely not. In fact, we would encourage you not to borrow any more than you absolutely have to. You will be offered student loans, so we will tell you what you qualify for, but then it's totally your choice if you want to accept those or move forward through the process. So there's no requirement to accept it just because you fill out a FAFSA.
Perfect. I know that's going to make a lot of students feel a lot better. So what would be the next step? So once students have filed that FAFSA, they're looking at what they qualify for, what may happen next for them?
Abby, would you like to take this one?
Yeah, so sometimes about 1 in 3 FAFSAs get selected for the verification process. So this isn't anything the student did wrong filling out the FAFSA. Sometimes it's just totally random, and all it is that the school, so KSU would collect additional documents just to verify some of the information on the FAFSA is correct. So all you have to do through this is just submit the documents through your AliExpress through a secure portal. And the most important part of the verification process is to turn in the documents early and to check your KSU email often.
And when they are submitting those documents and when they're reaching out to the Office of Financial Aid, is their student email the best way to do that?
Yes. So every time you email us, please do it from your student email and include your KSU ID number. And that way we can just look you up very quickly and assist you in the best way possible.
And what type of documents do students usually need to provide during that verification process?
So all students will fill out a verification web form, so just a worksheet online to fill out. And then depending on whether or not you use the data retrieval tool when you're filling out the FAFSA or not, you may have to submit your tax returns or a tax return transcript. And sometimes we need other additional documentations like W-2s and stuff like that.
Perfect. All right, so after verification, we will move on to scholarship programs. So I know a lot of students at KSU, they qualify for Hope or Zell Miller. How do they qualify? What do they need to turn in? How do they keep their hope? Because it's sad. It is sad when you lose hope. We don't want students to lose hope. Right. So how do they maintain that eligibility? What does that process look like?
So let's start from the point of you're graduating from high school. So we're talking to high school seniors. Your high school sends your transcript data to Georgia Student Finance Commission. They administer the GA Futures website, and hopefully you have heard about gafutures.org at this point. But they will send your transcript data from your high school years to that website. They calculate and they tell us who qualifies for Hope or for Zell Miller. So for the Hope Scholarship, it only looks at your core classes. So your band, your PE, those things do not count towards that high school Hope GPA. They calculate it, and it's a required 3.0 GPA coming out of high school to qualify for Hope. We tell students all the time, please go to gafutures.org and click on the link that says your Hope GPA and review what it says it is. Most of the high schools in the state now report the transcript data at least once a year, starting as early as your 9th grade year, so that you can watch it while you're going through high school. The reason we tell students to do that is you can't depend on what the cumulative GPA is on your transcript to match what your Hope GPA is. So it's really important that you check that calculation. They don't weight AP and honors classes the same way your high school might, so it's really important to check that with GSFC. Once they have designated you as a Hope Scholar, you have to have an application of some sort. Mentioned earlier, it could be the FAFSA, which you would need to fill out every year, but the other option is to fill out what we lovingly call the GSF apps. Some schools spell it out and say a GSF APPS, and that's what was referred to in the video. It's an application on gafutures.org that just applies for Hope or Zell Miller Scholarship. So it's not used for anything other than those sources. So you can do that, and it's good for 10 years. So you only have to fill it out once. So the other part, so for Zell Miller Scholarship, where for Hope you had to have that 3.0 GPA calculated by Georgia Student Finance Commission. For Zell Miller, it's a 3.7 GPA. They also required test scores of at least a 26 on the ACT or a 1200 on the SAT. Now we know with COVID there's been a whole lot of issues with test scores and being able to take tests and reschedule tests, and there is some legislation where they're talking about what they're going to do with test scores, but nothing's been finalized or passed yet. So at this point, that's the requirements for Zell Miller. And so the high school, or your high school sends the transcript data. Georgia Student Finance Commission tells us, hey, Abby qualified for Hope or Abby qualified for Zell Miller. It is one or the other. We get that question a lot. Can I have both of them? We wish you could, but it is one or the other. And then once you're here in college, your grades are everything counts. Pretty much everything you take counts. There's no certain requirement, and you have to have a 3.0 to keep Hope and a 3.3 to keep Zell Miller. So it's I would encourage you, if you're watching and you've still got a couple years out, to go ahead and start tracking that information in gafutures.org so you don't have any surprises at the end.
Now, if a student is not graduating from a Georgia high school, are there any circumstances where maybe they're transferring in, or if they don't qualify for Hope right away from a Georgia high school, where they can gain Hope after they start college?
Absolutely. So after you take, if you didn't graduate as a final Hope Scholar, after you take 30 semester hours with a 3.0, as long as you meet all the other residency requirements and those things, you can earn Hope.
Perfect.
You can never earn Zell Miller. So you have to be it at the time of high school graduation, but you can earn Hope scholarships. So.
And what does Hope and Zell Miller, what do they pay for and what do they not pay for, and what percentage are they covering?
They are tuition-only awards, so they only can go towards your tuition. At KSU, the Hope Scholarship covers 90% of tuition. So it's $167 per semester hour, but like I said, that's 90% of the tuition, so that's a pretty great.
That's fantastic.
Great incentive. If you are a Zell Miller Scholar, it pays 100% of tuition, which is $185.40 an hour. So then when you're talking about coming and looking at camp cost and affordability and that kind of stuff, it's only paying for fees if you're a Zell Miller Scholar, or fees plus a couple $100 for Hope to look at just tuition and fees.
Perfect. So that neither scholarship is going to cover any sort of housing cost or book cost or mandatory fees or things like that, unless you're Zell Miller.
It is just straight
tuition.
That's all those can be used for.
All right, perfect. Well, let's go ahead and move on to scholarships beyond Hope and Zell Miller. So what sort of scholarships are available? I know the financial aid website has a ton of great information about KSU specific scholarships as well as external scholarships. So how do they navigate that process? Is it one application after another? You guys have made it really easy.
We have. We launched a new product earlier this spring that's called Scholarship Universe. And the web address is kennesaw.scholarshipuniverse.com. It lets you search for both external scholarships, and the internal scholarships will be in there starting November 1st.
That's amazing.
One place.
Yes, one-stop shop.
One-stop shop. And the really cool thing about this website and how it's set up is it matches you to scholarships you apply for. So, or you qualify for, not apply for, then you choose to apply for them. So for the internal ones, it will be one application. And it will show you every scholarship that you match to, and you just hit submit, and it applies to everyone that you match to. For the external ones, you'll get a list of ones you match to, but then you'd have to go follow whatever their application procedures are. And those vary depending on where they're coming from, who's offering the scholarship. And these scholarships have all been vetted. And what we mean by that is somebody's actually gone out and researched and made sure that this is not somebody just trying to collect your data to sell you something or to sign you up for something, to call you or to spam you. These are legitimate scholarship organizations that are reviewed before they're allowed to be a part of the website. The internal scholarship application opens November 1st, so just in a couple of weeks, really soon. It will close March 1st. So you will have about 5 months to fill that out. You do have to have a KSU Net ID and password to be able to get into the site and apply for, search and apply for the scholarships.
Awesome. So do students have to be accepted before they can submit it, or do they just need to be in the admissions process?
They have to be in the admissions process.
Okay, Perfect.
So they can still use the portal through there.
Perfect. And now you mentioned with the external scholarships that these have been vetted. So what are some of the pitfalls that students sometimes run into if they are Googling scholarship opportunities? What do they want to make sure that they avoid and never do where scholarships are concerned?
One of the things we recommend that you never do about anything with financial aid is pay somebody. Whether it's to fill out your FAFSA or whether it's to apply for a scholarship or any of those kinds of things, we do not recommend that you pay somebody to go do that for you. It is some legwork and it is some work to do those things, but most times what we have found is that a lot of those, especially the scholarship searches, will charge them $500 for a promise of a $200 scholarship. Well, you can kind of figure out
math.
So you can kind of figure out the math on that. So we would much rather you use us. Call us. We are more than willing to help you fill out your FAFSA. We're more than willing to help get you started on the scholarship search and give you tips and tricks. Students every year use our writing center to help with their essays for scholarships. I mean, there's resources right here on campus that you can tap into to help you have a really good scholarship application. And if it just has money attached to it that you have to pay to it, I would say stay away.
Perfect, perfect. Now, the scholarship application opens November 1st, it closes March 1st, and that is for the next academic year. So
Correct.
Students right now, in the next couple of weeks, they'll be submitting that application for the fall 2021 going into spring, and they're awarded by the year. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So, the awards will probably be sent out late spring, so maybe April. The April timeframe will be when you'll be notified if you got a scholarship. You will be notified if you received one or if you didn't. So we will let you know either way. If you don't hear from us, you certainly can check with us and we can let you know your status. And those will be used for fall 2021 and spring 2022.
Awesome.
So it's for next academic year.
Now, let's say we have students who are starting with us mid-year. They're coming in spring semester. Are there scholarship opportunities that are available for them, or will they need to go ahead and plan ahead for that next year?
They'll need to go ahead and plan ahead for that next year. There really aren't very many that are awarded in the middle of the year. Most of them are done fall, spring by the departments and the way the foundation has it set up.
Gotcha. And what types of scholarships are available? Are they only available to freshman students coming in? Can all students go ahead and submit that scholarship application?
All students can submit that application. So one of the big things that I like to make sure that parents and students are aware of on these internal scholarships and what KSU has to offer is these programs are funded by very generous donors to the university. That they have given us the money to do these scholarship programs, and they sometimes put criteria on them, such as you have to be accepted into Coles or you have to have this college GPA. So we do have some that are open for first-time freshmen for coming in or for first-time transfer students coming in, but we also have a lot that are for returning students and for based on their college performance. So it really is open for everyone, and we want everyone to apply to have a chance to get those scholarship dollars. Anything that you can help get paid for free is great. And if it's a $500 scholarship, it may not feel like a whole lot, but $500 is half the fees or your books for a semester or, you know, towards a payment on a room. So it adds up quickly when you do the work for it.
For sure. So just like the FAFSA, this scholarship application is something students want to make sure that they are submitting every year. So
Yes.
October 1st, file that FAFSA. November 1st, file your scholarship application
we want
every
them
single
to apply
year.
every year.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and move on and talk a little bit about tuition and fees, about how the financial aid process works with our tuition and fees, and what is available for students as far as the affordability of KSU.
We touched a little bit when we were talking about HOPE, that HOPE covers 90% of tuition. So the tuition for 2021, these are tongue twister years, y'all, is $2,781 per semester. And then the fees are right at $1,000. So we're looking at about $3,700 for tuition and fees.
And that's for a full-time
For
student.
a full-time student that's in 15 hours, actually. So it is prorated if you take less than that. So the fees are pretty much standard unless you're like less than half time. But the tuition is prorated by the hour. It's $185.40. So if you are a HOPE scholar, you've got everything but $1,200 covered in tuition and fees on that one first semester. So it is affordable. 80% of our students receive some sort of financial aid. Now that includes scholarships, grants, loans, federal work study. That's the whole gamut. but it's around $350 million every year that runs through our office. So students are finding ways to finance their education. We know that nobody wants to borrow student loans. I get it. Paid mine off. I understand it completely. It's one of those things that's with you for a long time. But if it helps you bridge the gap and you borrow conservatively and only borrow what you need, not necessarily what you want, you can make it manageable and make it very affordable. And KSU is a really affordable choice to attend school. Even if all you qualified for were loans, you still would have plenty of room to pay that tuition and fees and still have some left over for books or other things if you needed it. So.
Perfect. Now, how does that process work? Let's say a student accepts their financial aid, and what sort of things outside of tuition can that financial aid pay for towards their education?
You want to take that one?
Yeah, so you can use whatever financial aid you have left over after your tuition and fees for housing. Say if you're living on campus, you'll be billed your housing on your payment portal. So that financial aid can be applied to that. It can be applied to meal plans. If you're not living on campus and you still have enough financial aid to cover all your tuition and fees with some left over, you can also use that for outside expenses like books, food, transportation, basically any educational related expenses you can use your financial aid for if you have enough left over after your tuition and fees.
So tuition and fees is going to get paid first,
yes.
And then we can move on to bigger and better things like housing and meal plans and fun stuff. All right, fantastic. So I'm trying to think, do we have any questions from okay. We want to make sure we get to all of your questions.
Sorry. So Charlotte from YouTube, she asked about international students with an F1 visa, what options they would have as far as financial aid goes.
Great question. Students with F1 visas are not eligible to apply for federal aid, so they can't use the FAFSA and they can't use those sources. There are some scholarship opportunities that we have for some of our international students that are awarded through departments that come through. And then there are some other options of financing outside of that, like private loans or things like that to help with those sources. But most of the resources that are awarded to students on the F1 visa come from outside of our office.
Great. Do you have a question?
Yes, I do have a question. Can you speak a little bit about federal work study? How does it work? How many hours can a student work during the week? Where can they work? Just a little bit more information about that program.
So you can either select on your FAFSA when you're filling it out that you are interested in federal work study, or if you don't select that on the FAFSA, it's totally fine. There's an application on our website where you can fill it out and we'll determine if you're eligible for the federal work study or not. So a student, if you're eligible for federal work study, you will go into our job search and you can apply to any job that is listed as a federal work study job. And you apply a normal way, you get hired, and then once you have secured a job, you can work up to 20 hours a week. And the salary can range, so there is a little bit of salary range. It's not always going to be minimum wage, but it just depends on the position.
And that money is paid directly to you.
Yes.
So you get a paycheck, so that doesn't go to your student account.
Yes.
And the other flip side of that is you have to earn it.
Yeah.
So if you get awarded $3,000 in federal work study, you're not automatically going to receive $3,000 unless you work and earn the $3,000. But you could be an admissions tour guide.
Absolutely.
You could work on campus in the library and the rec center. I mean, jobs are all over campus that are federal work study jobs. So there's lots of options if that's something you're interested in. That's how I started in college, was as a work study student. So actually in financial aid. So, but I mean, so you never know. It might give you real life experience. That's where you decide to work later.
I was
pretty
about to
sure
say
we
you
have
love
some.
it so much.
We have some admissions folks that started out through that process and are still here.
Yeah, 21 years later. That's right. That's right. Awesome. Are there any other questions? You have a yes.
Yes.
All right, Adam.
If y'all wouldn't mind speaking on kind of how Hope or dual enrollment plays a factor in receiving Hope as a high school student.
So the really great thing about dual enrollment hours is they don't count towards your Hope hours. So when you are a Hope recipient, you're basically given 127 hours of eligibility. But those dual enrollment hours don't count towards that. You just get 127 of Hope once you start here. So The only way the dual enrollment hours play in is those grades when they're reported by your high school to complete graduation. So, but it doesn't impact your HOPE GPA for college. So if you didn't do real great as a dual enrollment student one semester, those grades don't hurt your HOPE GPA once you're in college. They don't count. The only classes we count are ones that you take after high school graduation. So it's a great way to get a start, to start taking some of those courses and actually leave you with some extra hours to go for something else you can use your HOPE for. It used to be that those hours counted against their HOPE limits, but they don't anymore. It's just straight out. You get 127 hours for HOPE and you get 30 hours for dual enrollment. So.
Awesome. Now, is there a time limit for using HOPE? Does HOPE expire?
There is, and they keep changing it. So it is now 10 years. It's a 10-year expiration date, but that depends on your date of high school graduation. And you can see that on gafutures.org, just like where we talked about. You can see your GPA information under your HOPE GPA. It also will tell you your expiration date. So it is different for different students. If you graduated last year, it's 7 years. If you graduated in 2020, it's 10. So it does change and fluctuate a little bit. So it's a great plan to go check gafutures.org to get that expiration date.
Yes, and I think what a lot of people don't realize about HOPE and Zell Miller is that the legislature votes on that every, July?
Well, they usually start in session in February. So we
February.
usually find out the new rules in the summer.
So those new rules come into effect. So reach out to your representatives for that HOPE information to make sure we keep HOPE. Did you have any more questions in the chat? Or, nope, Natasha does. All right.
Yes. We get a lot of questions about summer and HOPE. Can you go into detail about, do I need to be a full-time student? Do I need to be a part-time student? What do I qualify for, and so forth?
You never, ever, ever have to be a full-time student for HOPE or Zell Miller, any semester. Not fall, not spring, not summer. If you take one class, HOPE will pay for it as long as you're eligible. So it's great to come in the summer and you can still take 3 credit hours and get your HOPE for those 3 credit hours. So, but that's often a misconception, is that a lot of our students believe they have to be full-time, and they just don't. You don't have to be full-time. I don't know where that misconception comes from, because every time we have an opportunity to tell anybody, we're like, you don't have to be full-time, because it seems to be something that students are really confused about, and you don't. It pays by the number of hours you're registered for. So if you were full-time this semester and you decided you didn't want to be full-time next semester, you still can be in 9 hours and still get your HOPE scholarship or your Zell Miller scholarship. It's up to you.
Now, for other types of financial aid, are there minimum enrollment hour qualifications for, say, student loans or other types of scholarships?
There absolutely are. So for student loans, you have to be in at least 6 hours as an undergraduate student. So there's that. And the Pell Grant prorates. So you are either full-time, 3/4 time, half-time, or less than half-time. And Pell pays a different amount based on where that falls. And so full-time is 12 hours or more. The 3/4 time is 9 to 12. Half-time is 6 to 8. And then less than 6 is less than full-time.
Okay.
Too
so
much
less than
information.
half-time.
Too much information.
If you're below
but-
half-time,
Yes.
you're just, that's it. Okay,
So-
so one class.
Yes. But HOPE and Zell, those don't matter.
Those you can take 1 hour, 15 hours. They don't care.
Right.
Awesome. All right. So Natasha has another question.
So we have a lot of military and veteran students who apply to KSU. Is there a different process for those types of students? And if so, can you talk a little bit about that?
That is all handled through our registrar's office. We actually have a VA representative or a couple of VA representatives in the registrar's office who work with the students to navigate the process of getting the paperwork submitted and everything put in place so that their tuition and fees are paid in timely using the GI Bill or Post 911 or whichever program they're using, and they're very well versed in that. So I know a lot of schools it runs through their financial aid office, but it does not here at KSU. It runs through the registrar's office.
Now, I know there's a lot of different types of aid available. So there's the HOPE scholarship, there's other types of scholarships, there's student loans, there's grants. Is there a max on the amount of aid money that a student can qualify for or that they can take advantage of based on the tuition and fees and housing and everything here at KSU?
So every student has a cost of attendance. So that cost of attendance includes tuition fees, estimated housing costs, transportation costs, estimated personal expenses. And so that is kind of the maximum amount of financial aid you can receive is that cost of attendance. So your total financial aid cannot exceed that cost of attendance. And so it can vary per student too, based on if you're in state, out of state, but it's something you could view on your AliExpress.
And that's all types of aids combined.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Did you have some couple questions from the chat there?
So I do have a couple. Just to highlight again what was being spoke on, if y'all could maybe highlight the difference between grants and scholarships. I know that's something we commonly get. Somebody will ask what the difference between a grant and a scholarship is.
Well, they're both free money, so that's great.
We love free money.
We love free money. Typically, scholarships have some sort of merit component to it, either a GPA requirement or a certain GPA to receive it, where grants may be more that it's based on your need or that you've done something. Like we have some departments on campus that do grant money if somebody does research for them or something like that. So grants may be more based on financial need from the FAFSA or something that you're being asked to do. Like so scholarships usually have that merit component, GPA, test score, or something like that to qualify for those. But grants and scholarships are great, free money. If you ever see the word loan on it, then that is something you'll need to repay back. And so a lot of times we call that self-help. And that is things that you get to help you pay for college, but then there's something in it. You're going to have to pay it back once you go back.
Okay. Now, with scholarships, I lost my question. It just flew right out of my head. That's awesome. I know Adam has more questions.
Well, I will tell you.
I will come back to my question because it flew right out of my head.
While you're talking about scholarships, we have lots of students that get external scholarships. So they receive it from their local high school or their church or some sort of civic organization, or they won an essay contest. We have students that bring in checks all the time for external scholarships from the outside. So you just bring those checks into us and we get them applied to your student account.
That was my question. How do they coordinate that process?
It's just that simple. You bring the check into the office and we get it applied to your account. So
perfect.
So we had an additional question about the kind of the timeline for a student if they were applying or once they submit the FAFSA, what that looks like to finally receive whatever aid it may be, or how long that usually takes, or if that is something that varies.
It is something that varies. If they're selected for verification, then they have to do the verification process. If not, we are not sending out award letters for 21-22 yet. We still need some upgrades to our student information system, but our hope is that those will be out, if not before the end of the year, really soon, like in January or so that they will see an estimate of what they're eligible for. We kind of call those estimates because a lot of things aren't set in stone yet. Nicole mentioned about the fact that our legislators vote on Hope and Zell Miller changes and those kinds of things. We usually don't get those rates until April or May. So then we would have to redo or relook at the award package to update it for the new award amounts that we get for that year. So right now, if you're applying for 21-22 and you know you've already submitted your FAFSA, give us a few weeks and we will be in touch with you about next steps. If there's anything you need to do or if you're all set and ready to go, then we will follow up with you as well.
Another reason to go ahead and start that process as early as possible. Now, to get in touch with your financial aid counselor, what is the best way for students to reach out to the financial aid office?
So the best way to reach us is definitely by email. So if you go to our financial aid website and go to contact us, everybody has an assigned financial aid counselor. So it's based on last name, so you just find the first letter of your last name, you'll see who your counselor is, and you'll have their email. So it's just really easy. You can just click on the email and send it off right then and there. You can also call us. We have walk-in hours Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, no appointment necessary. So if you'd rather come in person, you can absolutely do that. But email is definitely the quickest and best way to reach us.
Perfect. Now, if a student has submitted nothing, if they haven't done their FAFSA yet, if they're confused about the whole process, can they come in and talk to someone about kind of a step-by-step to get that process started?
Yeah, absolutely. We're happy to help. we, like I said, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, come on in. We're in Kennesaw Hall on the Kennesaw campus, and then administrative building on the Marietta campus.
Okay, fantastic. And I think, were there more questions? Yes, Natasha had a question.
So Sarah, you spoke a little bit about scholarships and different type of external scholarships. I'm just curious to know, you hear a lot of scholarships or students talk about, I'm left-handed, can I get a scholarship? I'm 5'2", and I'm just mentioning it because I meet all that criteria. Any unique scholarships that you all have seen over the period of time you've been at KSU that you can certainly maybe recommend to students to check out?
I don't know that I've seen one for left-handed. I always hear about the red-headed one too. I hear that there's some for red-headed. That doesn't mean that there's not those kinds of opportunities out there. But it would just be like I would say with anything else, you know, start with things you know. Your high school counselor probably has a whole list of scholarships that are available in the community. I know that my son's high school counselors are sending out stuff all the time about we need people to apply for these scholarships or we need applicants. It may be things in your community, your church, your parents may be a member of a civic organization or something like that. Start with those, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. It may feel like it's only a $500 scholarship, but if you get 5 or 6 $500 scholarships, that's $3,000 to go, and that's free money again. So start with the things you know. You can use that Scholarship Universe link that we talked about to search for external scholarships. We know that those have been vetted and looked at. You certainly can use Google and search for a scholarship. I just would caution you about paying for anything and making sure you do a little research on them to make sure that you're not sending your information to somebody that might use it for something that wasn't the best of ideas. So.
Watch out for those red flags. Don't
Right.
give them your social security number.
Right.
Don't give them money.
Exactly.
Yes, you don't want to spend money to get money. Perfect. Now, I know a lot of students maybe are a little hesitant to submit the scholarship application. So let's say you're not a 4.0 student with really great SATs. I know that there are tons of scholarships. Some are need-based, where some are merit-based. So can you talk a little bit about the difference between the need-based and the merit-based and kind of how those are decided?
Absolutely. So we kind of touched on a little bit that some scholarships have GPA requirements, but some don't. Some simply say you have to fill out a FAFSA and show you have financial need. And so that may look like, you know, it may look like that what the awards are that you qualify for, or it may be that we're just looking at, you know, what you've been awarded and do you still have room where you need assistance to get through college. So I would tell everybody you need to at least apply once. And that's kind of what we say about the FAFSA. Apply once, see what you're eligible for. If you know you never want to borrow a student loan and you don't want to fill it out every year, that's fine. But you know, do it at least once, see what you're eligible for. We would say the same thing about the scholarship application, but with a caveat. Because of the fact our scholarships, some of them are set for people that are juniors or seniors in college. If you apply for it as a freshman, you're not going to get it because the donor said they only wanted it to go to juniors and seniors. So just know there's a wide range of things, and I personally feel like it's worth maybe the hour of your time, maybe an hour and a half, depending on, you know, what all you need to answer to fill out a scholarship application. There's not many things you can do that for an hour and a half and get $750 awarded to you.
Right,
so.
Right. The FAFSA is free. The scholarship
Right.
application is free. It just takes a little bit of time, and you never know.
Exactly.
So that's great. Were there more questions in the chat, Natasha?
So I have a question. Financial aid talks a lot about this acronym called EFC, Estimated Family Contribution. Can you all talk a little bit about it, maybe explain in detail what that means to the student, and if they see that pop up, should they be concerned, should they call you all, etc.?
So I personally don't like the acronym EFC or Expected Family Contribution, because to me, if you tell me something's a contribution, it's money I need to give you. And so sometimes when you fill out the FAFSA, that number looks really scary. And so what we would tell you is that it's kind of an index. It tells us what age you're going to qualify for. So that helps us determine if you will qualify for the Pell Grant, if your loans will be subsidized, which means that the government pays the interest for you while you're in school. It just kind of helps us give a range of what kind of financial aid you qualify for. It uses the information off your FAFSA, how many are in your household, how many are in college, It looks at your tax information as well as some asset information, age of the parents, what state you live in. There really is a lot of things that go into it. But we also know that we're in a really weird time, obviously. Lots of times for open houses, we would be standing to you in a packed convocation center, chatting with you and talking with you about financial aid, and things are a little different this year. And so we know that for a lot of our families, that's impacted their ability to pay for college as well. And so we also have a process where we can take kind of a second look at your application based on if your circumstances have changed. Maybe in 2019 you were employed and in 2020 you aren't. And so we can review that. We'll open up that process in January. It's called a special circumstance process. You can reach out to your financial aid counselors. As Abby mentioned earlier, they can walk you through the process of exactly what's needed and the kind of things we look at. But we try to make it where we can look at this and make it so that college is affordable for you. Knowing that sometimes affordability is loans. And I know that not everybody wants to hear that, but sometimes that is what you have to look at to help bridge that gap.
Sure. So you mentioned subsidized loans. Can you talk a little bit more about the difference between a subsidized and an unsubsidized loan? Because I know when they get that award, they're going to see a couple of different things, and just tell them, let us know the difference between those two types of loans.
Absolutely. So the subsidized is where the interest is paid for you while you're in college. So as a freshman, if you borrow $3,500, when you finish school, you will owe $3,500. So that's really the better of the loans to get, but there's a limit on how much you can get in subsidized, and that limit for a freshman is $3,500. That's the most you can get in a subsidized loan. You also can borrow something that's called unsubsidized, and so that one is where you are responsible for paying the interest while you're in college or having it added to the balance of the loan. We would recommend that you at least get the lender to send you the information to tell you what the interest is that you owe. If you don't pay it, there's no penalty, but if you don't know that it's only $10 for a quarter and you just let it keep adding up, then it's just more and more you have to repay at the end. So that EFC number that we talked about is what determines whether you get subsidized or unsubsidized or a combination of both of them.
Now we love our little shortened phrases. We have EFC, we have all kinds of little acronyms that we like to use, and one is SAP. So can you explain SAP, satisfactory academic progress to students, and how that can impact their financial aid?
Absolutely. You want to do it?
Sure. All right. So SAP is required for all students to be maintained in order to continue to be eligible for any financial aid, all financial aid. So it's a couple components. One of them is that a student must maintain a 2.0 GPA if they're undergrad, or a 3.0 GPA if they're a graduate student. And then another component of SAP is the 67% completion rate. So a student must earn a grade for at least 67% of the classes they attempt. So if you get a F in a class, or a W, a WF, those don't count as earned hours, but they do count as attempted hours. So if a student doesn't meet one of those standards at the end of the semester, SAP gets calculated at the end of each semester. Then the following semester, they're going to be on SAP warning. So that's your one chance to get the SAP back up and meeting the SAP standards. So if a student is not meeting SAP at the end of that warning semester, they'll be on SAP failure, and that means that they aren't eligible for any financial aid at all, including like outside loans, alternative loans, private loans, Hope Scholarship, none of it. But there is an appeal process for students, so it's not necessarily you're out of luck. So you can either get an SAP appeal approved, you can pay out of pocket until you meet those SAP standards again, but it's just good to keep in touch with your financial aid counselor to make sure you're on track.
So it's not just the GPA. If they
Yes.
are not completing a certain amount of 67%
Yes.
of the courses that they register for, they can also lose that financial aid opportunity.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
And it's cumulative.
Yes.
So if you don't meet it for one semester, like you were in 12 hours and you withdrew from 6, so you're only going to have a 50% completion rate, well, then it's added to the next semester. So it's cumulative, so you have a chance to build it up.
Okay.
And so we try to warn students if they're going to withdraw from a lot of classes. Just keep in mind, if you're close on that SAP standard, that it may put you in a point where you have to appeal to get your financial aid back. And we don't want anybody to be put in that situation if we can help it.
So if a student is considering withdrawing from a class or maybe only registering for a certain number of hours, is that something that they would want to go ahead before they decide to withdraw and reach out to their financial aid counselor?
Yes, yes. So definitely reach out to us if you're thinking about withdrawing. We can just kind of give you a heads up and outlook of what your SAP is currently looking at, and just let you know how it could be impacted if it's going to put you below that 67% threshold, just so you know what you're getting into if you decide to withdraw from that class.
Now with HOPE, that is reviewed as well, and so students have to maintain that GPA, but do those withdrawals count towards those attempted hours for HOPE in that GPA calculation?
So they count towards the 127. Okay. So your 127 hour limit. But in terms of the actual GPA calculation, it's looking at the classes you complete. So it looks at the actual GPA hours for HOPE. And those are checked at the end of every spring semester. You're checked to see if you have that 3.0 for HOPE or that 3.3 for Zell Miller, and when you attempt 30, 60, and 90 semester hours. So there's a couple of checkpoints to make sure they're meeting that GPA.
Make sure we keep HOPE.
Yes,
That's right.
exactly.
Make sure we keep HOPE. All right, Adam?
Yeah, so I just had one more question here regarding graduate students and the opportunities they have. Obviously, a little bit different since it's not the 127 hours of HOPE you get, but if you could speak on just opportunities graduate students have.
So the primary source of financial aid through our office for graduate students is student loans. There are student loan options, but they also can complete that scholarship application, the internal scholarship. There are scholarship opportunities. A lot of our graduate departments have different resources available to them that they can sometimes do scholarships for students as well. So I really would, if you're thinking about coming to KSU as a graduate student, know that you have that student loan option, but you may also want to talk to your department about what scholarship opportunities they may know of, and be sure you fill out that internal scholarship application.
And is that the same for students who are maybe they've gotten that bachelor's degree, but now they've been in the workforce for a couple of years and they've decided to make a career change and they're maybe coming back for a second bachelor's degree? Is that going to be the same opportunities available for them?
Yes, so once you've earned your first bachelor's degree, that pretty much ends your eligibility for HOPE or Zell Miller, for a Pell Grant, for most of the federally funded grant programs and the state grant programs or state scholarship programs, they stop once you've earned that bachelor's degree. So that means that you are pretty much financing it through student loans or scholarships if you get those opportunities for you.
Okay, perfect. And I know we're getting a little bit close on time. So what are some of the maybe most common pitfalls that students run into or issues that they run into with their financial aid process that they can maybe be on the lookout for and help avoid some of those issues and just have a nice smooth process?
I would say the most common pitfall is students not checking their KSU email, so they don't realize when they have been selected for verification until, classes are about to start in a week, and then at that point it's kind of too late to get everything in place in time for that payment deadline. So definitely just check your student email. If you have to submit documents, do that early, and so that's what we see most of.
Perfect. So let's say a student has made a last-minute decision to come to KSU. What sort of financial aid process can they expect? Are they going to need to be prepared to pay out of pocket and then maybe be reimbursed? Or is there going to be enough time up until a certain point for that financial aid to still process for that current term?
It depends on what you mean by last minute.
Okay.
But we will do our absolute best every time. If you've got your FAFSA on file and you decide late that you're going to come, you register the first week of classes, we're going to do our best to help you. It may result in that you may need to pay out of pocket and be reimbursed for any financial aid that you need to receive or that you are eligible to receive, but we're going to try to make it work for you. We run our processes daily to try to make sure we capture any student who needs to be awarded financial aid or who needs to be reviewed so that we're doing it as quickly as possible. The thing I like to tell people is we're a really big school now. Yes. Even though it doesn't always feel that way when you work here, it doesn't feel like we're a big school, but we are, and we have lots and lots of students who get financial aid through our office. And if all 30-some-odd thousand of our students who get financial aid waited until August 1st to apply, we would never be able to get it done. It's not physically possible. So that's why we have earlier deadlines, but if you are on the fence and you're not sure and you make a last-minute decision, reach out to us. We will do the very best we can to get everything processed for you, and we'll be upfront with you and say, hey, it's probably not going to happen. You need to pay up front. You need to sign up for the payment plan. You can do this or that and give you what your options are and let you know kind of a timeline of when you would actually see your financial aid.
Perfect. And I know you guys have a lot of great resources on the financial aid website. So if they go to financialaid.kennesaw.edu, what are some of the things that they can find to assist them with that process, either with initially applying, or I know you guys have a lot of great videos to help walk them through. What sort of things can they find to help them with that process?
Everything you need to know about financial aid you can find on our website. So you can find out about the different types of aid, where to apply for different types of aid, scholarship links. You can find out who your counselor is, and contact information. That should be your first stop when you have any kind of financial aid question. Check out our website first and then reach out.
And if you're really one of those that likes to do the YouTube videos or search for that kind of stuff, we have a whole channel of financial aid videos. So if that's what you like to look at and that's how you like to learn, most of them are a minute or shorter or a minute and a half. They're very small, short snippets of information, and those are there for you to use as well. So.
Fantastic. So are there any other questions in the chat? Oh.
Thing. You all mentioned getting in contact with a financial aid counselor. During COVID times, is there an opportunity for parents and or students to actually physically meet with anybody? Would you all prefer email?
We will do whatever you're comfortable with. So our staff are rotating in and out every other week. So if your assigned counselor isn't in the office when you want to come visit, we will make sure somebody else is there to meet with you if you want to sit down and meet with somebody face to face. We will ask that you wear a mask and we will observe social distancing and do all of that. We will do that. If you want to do a virtual appointment and you want to do something online, we will do that. And we will meet with you and your parents virtually. You can call us, you can email us, tell us what you're comfortable with and we'll work to make it work.
Perfect. So wrapping up, what is your best piece of advice to students as they start this financial aid process?
Check your email.
Check your email. Always check your email.
And I would just say start early and don't ever be intimidated by the process. We know that financial aid is not necessarily the most fun topic that you want to deal with, and that it can be very intimidating and a little bit nerve-wracking, but please reach out to us. We're human. We're here to help. We're not big, scary people. We try not to be big, scary people, and we want you to be successful. So let us know how we can help you, and don't wait to get started because you're scared of it. That just puts everything behind the 8 ball and you just get further and further behind. So.
Perfect. So file your FAFSA, file your scholarship application. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Everyone, thank you for joining us to learn about financial aid. If you have any other questions with financial aid, please reach out to them in the financial aid office and visit financialaid@kennesaw.edu. And we're going to end with the Owl Eyes and Hooty Hoo. You guys ready?
We're ready.
All right. Hooty Hoo.
Hooty Hoo.
You don't go to Kennesaw State just for a degree. You go to find your voice. You go to find your heart. You go to find your code. You go to find your wings. Find your wings at Kennesaw State University. You don't go to Kennesaw State just for a degree. You go to find your element. You go to find your rhythm. You go to find your community. You go to find your wings. Find your wings at Kennesaw State University.